So how many of you have given prelims already? Right, Aditya, sir. अभी पलक कुछ बच्चे भी और आएंगे हैं. So how many have given prelims? 3, 4. Sure. What was your experience of prelims? Okay, Aditya, let me know. So what was the experience? सुमित बताओ. अच्छा, समोसे चाय की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ. बताओ. How did you find the paper? Right. Today we'll see a lot of things. How. Correct. What has been the score which you people have got? 50. Okay. First, only one attempt you've given. So, it was good. Okay. 95 to 2022. Cut off kitna tha? Acha, she said you did not. Prelims more about strategic to solve question. Aditya, that is fine. Vargesh, fine. Let me just start with what's first basic idea. All of you have heard about or read about maybe, at least heard about constitution, right? I'll take polity, governance, social issues. 1 or 2 questions are asked, and policies and schemes. That part I will take, right? If required, some other part also, but I'll not take that part. Too much of a burden to teach this part only. Fine. Constitution, you have heard about this, right? When you study for mains, right, the teachers will start with the definition of constitution, right? Constitutionalism, so many things, right? But their nature of study, or for mains, the nature of study is descriptive only. When you read things descriptive manner, right, your more focus is on analysis, not on factual interlinks, right? Let me just start with this. If I take this word constitution, right, see how we are going to do everything. If I take this word constitution, right, now when you study for mains, what do? You try to find out a descriptive understanding, right? अब इसको बहुत ध्यान से सुनना सी. Let's say your brain has been already tuned to listen to a story, right? And nobody tells you that you have to remember the names of the actors in the story, right? You are not told to remember the names of the actors in the story. What you are told is to listen to the story. At the end of the story, I will not ask who are the actors, what did they do, right? What did they do at this point of time, how they were connected to the others. I will not ask all this. I'll simply want you to know that there is a story, and finally draw conclusions from this story, right? Story doesn't give conclusions in between. It gives conclusion in the end. In fact, story doesn't give any conclusion. Conclusion is your interpretation. That is how you have interpreted the story. So when you're reading for mains, right, you follow this method. And automatically your brain becomes very receptive to finding this. Every time you're studying something, your brain will be looking for that conclusion every time. अच्छा ये part हो गया, conclusion क्या है? Your brain is trained that way, right? अब इसका उल्टा करते. See, now somebody tells you the same story, fine, but says कि भाई this story is broken into 4 parts, right? Each part has its own logic. Every story, the same story is broken into 4 parts now. Acts, right? If you have read Shakespeare, who has read Shakespeare? शेक्सपियर जो है एक्ट और सीन्स में ब्रेक करता था, राइट? उसकी स्टोरीज प्लेज होती थी बेसिकली. सो इफ यू break it now into 4 parts, and then I tell you, see, every part has its own uniqueness, right? And in the end, we'll try to connect every part in terms of uniqueness. अब आपका ब्रेन कैसे काम करेगा, राइट? अब आप इसी पार्ट को पहला कंक्लूजन, फिर सेकंड पार्ट का कंक्लूजन ढूंढेंगे, राइट? और फॉर दैट मैटर, नाउ द सेम स्टोरी हैज 4 कंक्लूजन्स. Which is correct? Right? One story gives one conclusion. One story gives 4 conclusions. If I further want to now complicate this, see, I will break this into 2 parts. And I will say, see, this part has 2 scenes. One where the actor goes to his house, other where the actor meets with an accident. अब ये 2 पार्ट होगा. तो सेम पार्ट ऑफ द स्टोरी या एक जो पार्ट है वो कितने और पार्ट्स में ब्रेक हो गया? 2 और पार्ट्स. और फिर मैं बोलूं हर सबका कंक्लूजन है, ठीक है, इन सबका कंक्लूजन हो गया. नाउ सी, दिस इज हाउ द ब्रेन शुड वर्क फॉर प्रीलिम्स. दिस इज हाउ द ब्रेन शुड वर्क फॉर मेंस. देयर इज नो डिफरेंस इन नॉलेज. Knowledge is same, constitution is same, provisions are same, right? But how your brain tries to accumulate that information is, for the mains it is in this manner, for the prelims it is in this manner. That is why they seem to be opposite. They are not, right? The same thing can be finally modified into a single conclusion and then you can write. So prelims, the strategy for prelims starts with first understanding that every part of the study has a micro conclusion, it has a micro existence. So the term constitution. Now, if you want to say, okay, I'm studying constitution starting from Article 1, this is illogical for prelims. Because the first thing you have to know the constitution in itself. Definition of constitution, meaning of constitution. Now see, treat constitution itself as a area of study in itself, individually. Then you will go to Indian constitution. What you do? You start studying seedhe Indian constitution, which is illogical. Have you seen the nature of questions they have asked in the last 10 years? Right? 2008-9, there were around 40 questions on polity. Applied and direct. But wo part phase purana ho gaya. For example, if you see 2016-17, right, around 27 questions they had asked. Not just polity governance, which includes policies, schemes, programs, and something applied aspect. That covers around 30-35 questions. So a direct knowledge of polity may give you 20 questions, right? But a broad understanding of this type will help you get 30-35 questions. Because if I say a new law is made, for example, 370 abrogation, right? Students will now be concerned about 370, right? 371 A to J, whatever, right? Now 370 and 371, you will learn everything about it. Did you find the difference between 370 and 371? What is the difference? ये बताओ, मैंने बहुत सारे YouTube वीडियोस देखे अभी, right? खाली था, है? So I had this interest in research and analysis. So I saw their videos. They were talking about the Supreme Court's judgment, right? Ratifies the union government stand on Jammu and Kashmir. ठीक है, बहुत अच्छी बात है, right? But ये तो मेंस के लिए टॉपिक है. How will that be useful for us in prelims? When you say current affairs, right? What do? You just go and study Raja Hari Singh, right? Was attacked, the Jammu and Kashmir was being attacked by the Pakistanis, and Raja Hari Singh had nowhere to go, right? So he went to India. India used this opportunity. Ab kahani hai, right? Instrument of accession. Is it a legal instrument? Why not? Last attempt 78. Okay, Adit. So when you say that, okay, if I have to think of use this current affairs, how will I use this current affairs? Do I have to know 370? Right? Do I have to know 370 clause A? Do I need to know 371? Right? Now your focus will be on knowing 370 and what news has come. That is immaterial for us. हमारे लिए important क्या है? Supreme Court's 5-judge bench. क्या होता है? What is that 5-judge bench? constitutional bench, right? Can constitutional bench judgment be overturned? Correct. Prima facie, it cannot be. Now see, this is the minor concept which is needed. Prima facie, it cannot be. तभी तो constitution bench बनाया गया. करेक्ट है, बट वो भी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ही है ना मेरे भाई, राइट है. अब तक कॉन्सेप्ट डेवलप हो गया हो भैया, मेरे स्टूडेंट हो. तो 5 हो, 5 से ऊपर हो, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बेंच. सो इफ दैट स्टेटमेंट, नाउ दैट इज वेरी लॉजिकल आंसर, इफ दैट स्टेटमेंट कम्स इन द प्रीलिम्स नाउ कि भाई आवर कंसर्न इज नॉट अबाउट 375 जज बेंच ने ये कंक्लूजन दिया, हमें उससे मतलब दिया, हमें सिर्फ ये जानना है कि 5 जज बेंच कैन दे ओवरटर्न दिस जजमेंट, राइट? Can it be overturned? Yes, it can be overturned by more number of judges. But if this statement comes, can the constitution bench judgment be overturned? No. कौन करेगा उसको? ये बताओ. Now this is where your concept of prelims and mains differentiate. Because the statement is not talking about 5 judge bench. The statement is saying constitution bench. Are you trying to understand? There is a very thin line of analysis. And that only comes with conceptual clarity, and that is what prelims is. Once you have that, that information becomes very minor thing. Because once you have the logic, information आपको अपने आप logical लगेगा या illogical लगेगा, भाई this could be possible or not. If it is not possible, it is not possible. It becomes easy to attempt that MCQ because you know the concept, right? इंडिया का GDP growth rate 7.86 है, right? अब इंडिया का जो overall GDP जो turnover है वो अगर एक नंबर आ जाए, for example X number, but you know the growth rate is this, and it says कि भाई last year to this year this has been the volume of the economic growth in Indian context, but you know it is 7.86, right? And countries like India, right, which come in the medium developing countries, right, they cannot go beyond or they cannot exceed beyond a particular growth rate. If you have this logic, then you can apply. You may not know the number. There's no need to memorize that number. Even if economic survey bhi padhte ho, so there's no need to memorize that number if you understand this concept. Sectoral growth rate, right? If you understand these things, you can logically use. You don't need to know the number. So let's say, right? So you 370 overturn hua? Nahi hua. Right? In fact, see, 370 is one of the important aspect has been emphasized by the court judgment that elections must be conducted in Jammu and Kashmir because a valid point exists. Can you degrade the status? Now see, ये हमारे लिए दूसरा aspect है prelims के लिए. That Article 1 to 4 talks about the formation of states or creation of states, right? So can, like Article 2, right, or Article 3, creation of new states from the old ones, right? Now, so when you say कि I can create new states out of the old one, so what can you create? Can you create a state? See, Constitution, every word which is mentioned has a logic. You cannot say कि state मतलब UT भी हो गया, नहीं? So if the statement comes, can new territories be formed out of existing state? Yes. But if the statement comes, can a new state be formed out of the existing state? Now that is talking about a state, not a territory. Can only a new state be formed out of the existing territory? No. Not only a new state, but also UT can be created. This statement itself will have a lot of implications. So if you don't understand, you don't study that way, right? In the exam, obviously, you will be confused. You will be fooled by that UPSC's logic. And you might say, oh, it's simple tha. See, majority of these students who are studying, I'm not talking about all those, right, who are looking at this TikTok videos. I'm not talking about them. But I'm talking about serious people who are actually studying and who know that this is a kind of war. Right? And the entry to that war field is first the battle gate of prelims. अभी तो war field में entry नहीं हुई, तो prelims तो सिर्फ एक battle है उस war के लिए. So the people who are studying with that mindset, obviously for them, right, it becomes very important to understand every aspect, everything in that regard. That does not mean that you study for years and years. That simply means that if you understand the gist of a topic, right, that gist includes both information and conceptual analysis. You study only with the gist of facts. So majority of the scoring you will find that कि भाई prelims में general category for example, rest you can calculate. General categories cutoff generally will vary from 87 to 95, right? Unless that paper comes or factually is more, or more questions are factual in nature, then it will cross over 100, which is very obvious. Even if you say these facts were so tough that nobody knew it, then also there will be 5,000 people who will break this mark. Always. Okay. तो जब तक फैक्चुअल पेपर आएगा तो ये कट ऑफ 105 के आसपास चला जाएगा. Right? Why I'm saying 105? Because if you attempt 105, then probably, if you think you are getting 105, then probably you'll get up 100. So when the paper is factual, then your score or your aim for scoring should be 140. Everybody says score 100 around. No, correct, incorrect. 140. ये आपका टारगेट होना चाहिए. So that you can overcome any other shocks that you might have when the answer keys are released. So as per your understanding, your score should be somewhere 140, at least for general category, right? ये कम होते होते 120 तक आ जाएगा. बट ये तब है जब पेपर फैक्चुअल है, प्योरली फैक्चुअल. फैक्चुअल का मतलब क्या होता है? सी, यू हैव 100 क्वेश्चंस. This is how the paper is designed. You should read the paper carefully, not for questions and topics, fine, but for the behavior of the paper. पेपर का बिहेवियर कैसे स्टार्ट होता है? सी, यू हैव 4 सेट्स ABCD, है ना भाई? 4 सेट्स. सी, हर सेट ये कभी एनालाइज किया? नहीं किया होगा, राइट? यूट्यूब वाले भी नहीं बनाएंगे. क्यों? क्योंकि इसके लिए दिमाग लगाना पड़ेगा ना. इसके लिए कॉपी कट मटेरियल नहीं है. You have to read between the lines, then you have to understand. Every set starts. You'll see ABCD, 4 sets are there, right? Normally, fine. The initial sets like A and B, always you go and see the question paper, right? You will find that there is a trend of UPSC. ठीक है, 3 broad trends हैं. Okay, that is why we wanted just today not to teach. 3 broad trends are there. Right? एक है that 1 to generally 20 questions होंगे. Normally all the sets में, right? In general एक trend है. Let's say A. ये क्या होता है? Mostly questions facts. Let's say they start with the recently held G20 summit, right? Was attended by these many states, for example, right? Or with respect to the recently held G20 summit, identify which of them are correct, right? Itne members had attended, 5 declarations were passed, right? Declaration on AI was passed as Delhi Declaration. This wo question puchega. See how they will start it. So they will first put factual questions. Facts does not mean number, data. Facts means specific information that is needed. तो ये एक ट्रेंड है जो इंफॉर्मेशन सेंट्रिक होता है. ये स्टार्ट ऐसे होता है. इट्स नॉट पेपर में तो सेम क्वेश्चंस होंगे, all of them will have the same questions, right? But one trend is behavior of paper is it will start fact based. Now see what will happen. Most of the student will start from here, right? They may be able to solve 4, 5, 7 questions. Once they solve these 5, 6, 7 questions, now they will realize that the nature of fact is being twisted now, right? A fact kaise twist hoga? See, Article 370 deals with special exigencies related to Jammu and Kashmir, right? Whereas Article 371 deals with special exigencies existing in rest of the 10 states which are categorized as special states. First point. Second statement, right? Though 370 and 371 has overlapping in terms of classification of states. अब ये क्या हो रहा है? धीरे धीरे ये फैक्ट जो है ये कॉम्प्लिकेटेड हो रहा है. तो आप जब वहां पहुंचते हो तो क्या होता है? देन योर मोरल गोज डाउन. नाउ यू गेट सो ऑब्सेस्ड विद दिस कि भाई हाउ एम आई नॉट एबल टू रिमेंबर इट. हाउ इज इट पॉसिबल? अभी आई रेड द न्यूज, right? It was in the news, I have seen the newspaper, I have seen the video. How am I not able to remember? because you never thought of that topic from that perspective. They also know human behavior. No, exam also knows. The system knows human behavior. System is more smarter than us. We are working individually. System is working with a lot of people. So now they will start twisting, and your morale will go down. Right? Later on, you will find that 20 के बाद, right? 50 तक तो बहुत easy questions थे, which I have studied, right? Art and culture, history, right? For example, basic economy. ये तो डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन पूछे थे करंट अफेयर से, बट मोरल यहाँ पे चला गया. See how human brain is, it's not disconnected, no? So once your morale goes down, now you start making mistakes here. Right? You start making mistakes, and now you start making silly mistakes. 243 D था, 243 I था. Now you're gone. ठीक है. तो जो worst आपका scoring होता है वो यहाँ होता है. This is the part where your scoring goes down, right? You'll go and evaluate your answer sheets also. You'll find कि ये जो mid का segment है, right? बहुत ज़्यादा गलतियाँ वहीं पे होनी है. क्यों? क्योंकि last phase जो आता है फिर से 50 to 100, right? Now you enter into do or die phase. अब आपको एग्जाम तो देना ही है, निकलना है बाहर. तो आप क्या करोगे भाई? आपका ब्रेन इसको रिकॉग्नाइज करेगा कि भाई देयर इज नीड टू नाउ पुश माय लिमिट, किसी तरह मुझे ये करना है, ये तो आ नहीं रहा, अब आगे बढ़ते हैं. ठीक. तो एक बार आपका ब्रेन पीक पे गया, फिर नीचे आ गया, फिर स्टेबल हुआ, और यहां पे उसको लगा कि नहीं अब कुछ तो करना है. राइट? करो या मरो. सी, try to understand your psychology when you are giving the exam. Don't just practice the question. You could have got a peak here also, right? But जो ये demoralization हुआ, इसने क्या किया, ये पूरा स्कोर मेरा कम कर दिया. राइट? अगर मैं यहाँ पे 5 क्वेश्चंस और ऐड कर सकता था, राइट, तो मैं यहाँ पे अगर 25 भी कर लेता हूँ, यहाँ पे 5 भी कर लेता हूँ, यहाँ 15 भी कर लेता हूँ. सी, योर स्कोर समवेयर रीचेस 90. इतना ही तो करना है टेक्निकली क्वालिफाई करने के लिए, right? And obviously something more. So see, one, how they trap your mind is to start with this logic, and then finally वो questions को फिर से divide कर देते हैं, easy tough easy tough easy tough. लेकिन but because your brain already has now demoralized, it has already been impacted by something that it is not able to come. Now here itself, this is the phase, ये जो बीच का plateau है, gap है, this is the phase for which you have to now study, think. And how you have studied, that matters. Not just the content. Content to any day you can have. You can acquire immense content, right? How to look at that content, that is very important. तो जिसने वो प्रैक्टिस की होगी, जिसने वो सोचा होगा, वो यहाँ पे जीत जाएगा और वो निकल जाएगा. That means technically difference कितना है? The people who are studying hard and not getting through, people who are studying hard and getting through, the difference is of 5 to 10 questions. As simple as that. Those 5 to 10 questions could have been done anywhere, provided you had that mindset. You'll see many times people who don't have any stake, right? They are not even bothered कि whether I'll get through or not, they get through. क्यों? क्योंकि अगर पढ़ाई की है तो वो ब्रेन में इंफॉर्मेशन तो है ही कहीं ना कहीं. But their mindset makes it more accessible to them. So you can imagine that situation, how you respond to that situation is the key to the information you have. The moment you respond in a panic manner, that key is lost. So the same information that you have, you are not able to access that information. क्योंकि आपका ब्रेन अलाउ ही नहीं करता है. उसको लगता है आप चोर हैं और वो इस इंफॉर्मेशन को चुराना चाहते हैं, तो वो ब्लॉक कर देता है. That is why it is very important to first understand your neuroelasticity, neuroplasticity. तो ये बहुत लॉजिकल. एमसीक्यू एग्जाम्स आर नॉट डिजाइंड, राइट, जस्ट फॉर पीपल प्रैक्टिस एंड गो एंड डू इट. वो आपका एक पर्टिकुलर माइंडसेट चाहता है, तभी तो डिफरेंशिएट कर सकता है. सी, पीपल हैव lakhs of people have same information, right? People say only 1 lakh people are capable of attempting. Correct. Out of 10, only 1 lakh people are capable. But add those 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh for the 6 years, 6 attempts. So at least every year, 6 lakh people are such who are spillover of the previous year, right? Who are capable. So this is a highly illogical statement that only 1 lakh or 50,000. No, at least 2 to 3 lakh people are there who are having same level of information. So how will they be differentiated? It is mainly because of this, that the moment you come out of the exam, you should not say, "Mujhe ye aata tha, hua hi nahi." That is illogical. How can you even say that? This is not a usual exam. क्लास का एग्जाम नहीं है, राइट? क्लास टेस्ट नहीं है कि आप बोलो कि मुझे आता था नहीं हुआ. अरे इसको करने के लिए ही तो इतने साल आपने पढ़ाई की, right? So that means your brain, your will has deceived you. Why? Because you did not cater to it. तो एक जो बिहेवियर ऑफ पेपर है वो फैक्ट बेस्ड है, फाइन. दूसरा इंफॉर्मेशन बेस्ड. दूसरा बिहेवियर, सी 1 to 20 questions again if you see, right? Now these questions ये कैसे होंगे भाई? ये पूरे एकदम current developments, right? What you say, I would not say current affairs, right? But I would say current issues. Current affairs has a very broad spectrum. Current issues based होंगे. First 20 questions अब पूरा current ही current होगा. For example, G20 पे question, amendment, right? New law has been made, right? What has been done to the market regulation? This international summits, ये हुआ वो. See, first 20 questions इसी पे आ जाएंगे. ये कैसी information होती है? This is also information, right? This is called floating information. इसीलिए complicated है. That is why people read a lot of current affairs, no? But they know that my overall contribution of current affairs would be 30%, 40%, not more than that. The entire paper cannot be current affairs, no? It can be based on current perspectives. Fine. So floating information होती है. ये floating information क्यों होती है? क्यों? See, it is not as precise as Article 370. It's not quantified. राइट? ये कैसा इंफॉर्मेशन है? ये फ्लोटिंग इंफॉर्मेशन है. आज है, फिर कल भी चेंज हो सकता है. तो यू हैव टू इंफॉर्मेशन बेसिस इन योर माइंड. वन, दैट G20 this was conducted in India, but when I am writing mains, when is the proposed next G20 happening? ठीक है, अब ये बहुत सिंपल से लॉजिक है. सी, स्टूडेंट्स ऑब्वियसली cannot think that way, right? They don't have that much of time. ये लॉजिकल है भाई. As a student, we also could not think that way. वो तो 4 बार देने के बाद धीरे लॉजिक समझ में आ जाता है. सी, सो लेट्स से आपके पास एक इंफॉर्मेशन है अभी G20 दिल्ली की, फिर कोई प्रपोज्ड है G20, राइट? इसके पहले का भी एक G20 रहा होगा. सी, अब हम ये तो नहीं कह सकते कि 1950 का 370, 2010 का 370, 2023 का 370 है, अलग अलग है. Fine, represented by different type of people, right? So, but right, आज का 370 का इंटरप्रिटेशन कुछ और ही हो सकता है. We don't know. Maybe RSS is interpreting that 370, right? But you cannot say that. That is not a floating information. वो है established information. इंटरप्रिटेशन चेंज होगा. डोंट आस्क मी दैट क्वेश्चन. सुप्रीम कोर्ट इंटरप्रेट करता रहेगा, दैट्स ओके, राइट? बट जो प्रोविजंस है, जो उसका बेसिक इंफॉर्मेशन है, वो सेम है. दैट इज नॉट चेंजिंग, बट दिस इज चेंजिंग. नाउ सी, सो योर ब्रेन हैज वन वर्ड, राइट, बट डाइवर्स टाइप ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन. This creates now confusion in this information. So when we are reading G20, what do? We try to find out the basic origin of G20, membership of G20, where it is held today, maybe what will happen in future. But let's say your brain skips कि last year क्या हुआ था. ब्रेन ही है भाई, इतना थोड़ा ना पड़ेगा. सिर्फ लॉजिक है, आपका लॉजिक इतना काम किया कि yes, I should know this, I should know this, but you did not try to find out कि what was happening, what was the previous G20, right, and how it led to this G20. So you read history, you read membership, you read all the details, right, but you missed that part. अब क्वेश्चन ने यही पूछ लिया, तो क्या लॉजिक है? आपकी मेहनत वेस्ट हो गई. Your effort got wasted because you studied it, you made notes for that, right, but in spite of that you could not solve the question. So lot of information which is called floating information, right? It always comes and it technically dominates the paper. one type of set will always be observed in this manner, and then the moment students attempt now again goes down. There are smart people who starts from behind, right? But उनके लिए भी ट्रेंड है. ऐसा नहीं कि यूपीएससी इतनी बेवकूफ है कि उसको नहीं पता कि लोग पीछे से भी क्वेश्चन शुरू कर देंगे लिखना, right? उसके लिए भी ट्रेंड्स होता है. सी फैक्ट 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 10 15 20 क्वेश्चन फैक्ट. पहले सिर्फ जीएस टेक्निकली पहले मैथ्स आता था, तो दे यूज्ड टू वेरी दैट मैथ्स सेक्शन. For some in the beginning itself maths. Imagine a humanities student getting 20 questions in maths. He doesn't know 1, 2, 3 नहीं आता. अब वो घबरा गया कि मुझे यार बाकी में करना है, ये तो आता ही नहीं मुझे. See, it's a mindset they are attacking. They are not attacking you. They know कि अगर ये बच्चा कहीं और से पढ़ेगा तो ये थोड़ा easy हो जाता. उनको पता है कि जैसे इसने यहाँ से शुरू किया, इसको 10 क्वेश्चन नहीं आए, ultimately this person will panic and now he'll look for what the questions that he can do. See, so one type of paper would be dominated by floating information. This floating information, right, it does not give you clarity, it does not give you precision in terms of marking the options. ठीक है, ये बहुत थ्रेटनिंग मॉडल है. ठीक है, यहीं पे प्रॉब्लम होती है कि भाई आई न्यू 2 or 3 out of the 4 options, but I did not know it. Because lot of variations can be brought here. See, lot of variations I can ask, right? A simple Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. So you know about Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, right? What was the purpose, whether the allocation has been increased or not, this and this and this. But there is a simple information that what percentage of allocation goes for behavioral changes. Is behavioral component a component of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan? Yes, it is. So what percentage of the resource is distributed for behavioral changes? Or let's say a statement is written on presumption. The examiner makes a statement, right? A wrong statement with a logical understanding. See? That the component of behavioral change to the tune of, let's say, 18% or 15%, which is provided in the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, a 50% part of that should go to women beneficiaries. अब ये statement गलत है, लेकिन logical है. So anybody who will be a logical person, who knows about gender budgeting, who understands about women participation or focus of policies on providing same or similar amenities to women, he will always say this is correct. यार ये तो logical है, ये तो correct होना ही चाहिए. So try to understand how the exam fools you with that floating information. The assumptions will always feel to be correct. Hypothesis will be logical, right? But the final conclusion would be wrong. So if I say, most of the developing countries are affected by this, correct, right? So maybe out of 5 assumptions, 4 you might find correct, 5th you might say is also correct, right? Even if you don't know about it, but you find it logical, ultimately that will also be incorrect. That is how exam is designed. It knows that a person who attempts the paper will think it is logical. That is why they are designing it. So see, if this aspect is understood and you have compared this properly, you have analyzed it properly, then this aspect will not be wrong. Then you will be able to understand कि fine, अब ये information से floating information कैसे create, how they have created this information. You go and see many questions, you'll find, I'll give you examples in the class. Many questions are designed like that, right? It seems that they are probably correct. In fact, you show it to anyone, he'll say, no, this is logical, this has to be correct. Fine, but when you see the answer, actually, it is incorrect. So if we say, okay, drip irrigation requires a efficient use of water as a resource and does not involve any complicated technology. Correct है statement? ठीक है? कुछ ठीक है कि नहीं ठीक है? Right? Next statement. The drip and sprinkler irrigation model both have one common theme: minimize wastage and reduce ecological footprint, increase this. अब ये स्टेटमेंट सही है या नहीं है? ये स्टेटमेंट क्या सी flows from the first logic, right? Now third statement. The drip irrigation model saves 20% more water than the sprinkler irrigation model. अब 20 हो, 10 हो, 5 हो, इससे हमें मतलब नहीं है. पहले ये पता होना चाहिए, does it save or not? If it saves, then the specific term 20 has no meaning. That means it is correct. Right? UPSC does not want you to be that specific. Chartered accountant का पेपर नहीं है. लेकिन ये पहले क्लियर हो कि भाई ड्रिप एंड स्प्रिंकलर, राइट, इसमें कोई डिफरेंस है या नहीं है, सेविंग है या नहीं है. So for that, what is needed now? You have conceptually understood your science and tech class. See? So mains become quite inevitable, right? Or you do that kind of short circuiting कि भाई concepts पहले पढ़े, 5 महीने पढ़े, 10 महीने पढ़े, it doesn't matter. So everything that you have read will be put to use in this exam. You don't have to mug up the information from a test series कि drip is better than this or sprinkler is better than this. You don't have to mug this up. You have to conceptually understand it. So people who feel कि भाई just questions कर करके ठीक है. 10% of that also people might get through. Yes, you might be the lucky one in the 10%, but not everyone will be. So one, this is a challenging part, right? How current and static is now linked. How current is interpreted in phases. Okay, ये बहुत important. So women reservation bill, right? So if the statement comes, right, one of the first attempts comparatively in any democracy of the world is the women's reservation bill, right, or providing women with this percentage of reservation in parliament or legislature in India. India becomes the third country in the world to do this. Now, you see, this statement may seem quite logical, but it may be totally incorrect. India third कैसे हो सकती है? इंडिया फर्स्ट भी हो सकती है, राइट? इंडिया 10th भी हो सकती है. बहुत सारी डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज हैं, डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज हैं इन द वर्ल्ड. Now see, this kind of information cannot always be verified. It is very difficult. So ये information कैसे channel समझ में आती है? When you see the options now. Because having none of the above is a very typical aspect. If there is none of the above, you always feel driven to that option कि अच्छा भाई ये हो भी सकता, नहीं भी हो सकता. That means none of the above डाल दो, ज़्यादा better. So it's quite logical that many questions are designed in this manner, that whatever you study, it doesn't matter, right? You will always feel a deficit of information. So for that, right, there is only a method, or there is need for a method. How do we interpret that particular development? यही method है सिर्फ. कि कितनी possibilities है. So if there are 20 possibilities, if we are coming close to 15, 16, 17, 18, that is fine. Because normal average student comes to only 5 to 6 possibilities. His ability to think may vary from that. 4 to 5 to 6, 7 types of dimensions, not more than that. Okay. क्योंकि स्टूडेंट के पास इंफॉर्मेशन लेवल भी कम होता है. फाइन. सो एक जो मॉडल है ये डिफिकल्ट है, because see, it creates a lot of challenge. Now if the question paper has to be made tough, तो ये increase हो जाएगा. See, अब ये 1 या 40 questions तक पेपर में आ जाएगा. Then you say, "Arey, current affairs based paper." It was not just current affairs based paper, right? It was floating information based paper. It can be as big as high as 40, and then it is the biggest challenge, because in the rest 60 you cannot do everything correct, right? But इसमें जो भी करोगे तुम्हें श्योर ही नहीं होगा कि ये सही है या नहीं है, right? But people score, yes, that is also possible to score, right? Logical है, थोड़ा सा लॉजिक डेवलप हो जाए, you can score. Fine, you may not score that much, yes, but you can at least assure कि 50% I can get in such type of questions. वो बहुत है for qualifying the exam, right? अब C type है, ये आई वुड से कि पीपल से कि ये मॉडर्न है, बट आई फील ये ट्रेडिशनल मॉडल है. ट्रेडिशनल मॉडल है सिंपली कि भाई यहां पे not fact and analysis, it is analysis to fact. एक fact to analysis model होता है, एक analysis to fact. But most of the UPSC questions will seem, if they are in this C category, they will be from analysis to fact. अब let's see an example for this. कैसे होगा ये question? ये भी ऐसे ही आता है, right? ये generally 1 से 27, 1 to 27, 1 to 25 से question आएगा. फिर ये भी demoralizing after a point of time. See how analysis to fact goes away. Let's take the same example, right? Supreme Court's view on 370. Reestablishes the 𝗟𝗲𝗿𝗲 Bharti case or the basic structure doctrine under the 𝗟𝗲𝗿𝗲 Bharti case, right, emanating from judicial review. Let's say one statement, right? Now, अब ये करंट भी नहीं है टेक्निकली, सिर्फ फैक्ट भी नहीं है, राइट? लेकिन ये क्या है? एनालिसिस है. Analysis to fact means now what they are trying to come. This view, which view? It's not clear. कि which view under this? कौन सा view? Fine, अब कोई view है लेकिन. See? So that means what? You don't have to just know this, right? You also have to know this. Fine, and ultimately you also have to know this. So unless you read that judgment, right, or you summarize that judgment, you will not be able to know. तो ये जो इंफॉर्मेशन ये पूछ रहा है, ये कहां से आएगी? From where will you get this information? From analysis. You will analyze what the judgment has been, right? Or you will filter it, summarize it. From that, now you will interpret. If this is the analysis, then this is the basic information which I derive from this. So many of the questions will be designed in this way. Let's say now second statement of the same thing. Right. The Supreme Court did not absolutely abrogate 370, but legitimized the union government's stand. Is it correct or incorrect? Supreme Court did not absolutely abrogate Article 370, but legitimized the union government's stand on. सही है, गलत है? Correct. Fine. इस क्वेश्चन में फैक्ट का है वही फैक्ट. Fine. But how did you know? How will you understand this fact unless you have analyzed this judgment? Now you see the trend of the UPSC since 2017, 18, 19, or you can say people say 20, 21, 22, 23. Not. It's since 2016, 17. It is only the proportion of the question which is increasing. So they are now focusing on these kind of questions, which makes us feel that the question is more about current perspective, which is not correct. It's not current perspective, it's analysis centric. From analysis to fact. Analysis से कहीं तो जाएंगे. Do we have to just analyze or we have to reach somewhere from this analysis? So from analysis we have to reach to the fact. Earlier, fact to analysis होता था. Fact to analysis होता था पहले. Article 13 talks about this law. Under this Article 13, the law has been defined, right? Considering this, which of the following are correct? A fact से analysis पे जाना. Amendment is not a law, right? Judiciary is not part of Article 12. Or judicial judgments are not considered as law. Right? There is no concept of judge-made laws in India. अब ये क्वेश्चन तो वो फैक्ट से आ रहे हैं, एनालिसिस, अब एनालिसिस से फैक्ट पे जाना सी, दैट इज व्हाई इट क्रिएट्स कॉम्प्लिकेशन. You have longer statements, you have bigger statements, because they want to reduce the time you will have surplus time to attempt. So they will give you bigger options, longer options. You'll have to read it. You have to read between the lines. Unless you don't do it, you'll not understand it. It's not a straightforward line, right? They will complicate the language. That is why if you've done those kind of practice now, तो instantly जैसे होता है भाई, एक मैग्नेट है तो वो समझ जाएगा कि भैया आयन कहाँ पे है, राइट? एक मैग्नेट नहीं बना तो वो नहीं समझ पाएगा उसे. तो आपके ब्रेन को ऐसे मैग्नेट टाइप बनना पड़ेगा कि इंस्टेंटली यू रीड द ऑप्शन, यू अंडरस्टैंड कि भाई दीज आर द की पॉइंट्स, दीज आर द इन्फ्लेक्शन पॉइंट्स, और इन्हीं इन्फ्लेक्शन पॉइंट्स पे ये पूरा स्टेटमेंट डिजाइंड है. तो हर स्टेटमेंट में 3-4 कीवर्ड्स होंगे, लिंक किया, समझ लिया. Saves a lot of time. Option and statements both can be combined to understand, right? But let us say, so they have now modified these statements, right? For example, बहुत सारे questions are environment biodiversity पे, right? They are focusing on biodiversity ecology because they want to sensitize people. That is also one logic, right? Secondly, this is an emerging area. This is an area AI, ecology, environment, technology, where a lot of things are happening. They have a lot of masala for these areas, both static and both analytical or current, you can say. So ecology and environment, for example, tomorrow Dr. Saurav will tell you, right? So, but let us say this way, कि भाई, if they are designing the question, now they can interlink. कि भाई, how do we ask a question on environmental governance? Now, neither it will be purely environment or biodiversity, nor it will be purely polity or governance. It will be environmental governance. Fine. अब ये कैसे आएगा सी? Forest Rights Act 2005, fine, talks about, community-based management. Fine. करेक्ट है? ठीक है, चलो अब इसको टफ बनाते हैं. सी, community under the law has been defined as, no, you don't know this, right? I bet you don't know. भाई टीचर को ही पता ना स्टूडेंट की रेंज क्या हो सकती है, तो वो भी एग्जामिनर है, वो हमसे भी 10-15 साल ज्यादा स्मार्ट है, राइट? इंटेलिजेंट ना हो, स्मार्ट तो होगा, एक्सपीरियंस है. सो नाउ सी, वेरी सिंपल इंफॉर्मेशन मेकिंग द एंटायर क्वेश्चन नाउ कॉम्प्लिकेटेड. भाई मुझे सब पता, मुझे यही नहीं पता, क्योंकि आपने सोचा ही नहीं when you studying. That is the problem, right? So community has been defined under the law as, right, people residing in a particular territory, demarcated under the Forest Rights Act as a forest area. अब फॉरेस्ट राइट्स एक्ट तो क्या डिफाइन करेगा? फॉरेस्ट के बारे में बात करेगा भाई. तो वेयर इज दैट कम्युनिटी रिजाइडिंग? राइट, in the area which is declared as forest, right, or a habitable part of that forest. Fine. Now see, next question, or thoda sa, the habitable part under the Forest Rights Act, right, means the area where human intervention is allowed. Simplified, it seems correct. Fine. But there are areas which are defined as buffer zones. There are areas which are defined as peripheral zones. Fine. There are areas which are defined as community forest. तो एक एवरेज स्टूडेंट, राइट, जिसको लगता है उसने बहुत अच्छी तैयारी की है, बहुत पढ़ा है, 10,000 क्वेश्चन कर लिए, उसको लगेगा हाँ ये तो सही था, मैंने आई हैव करेक्टेड इट. Fine, but he cannot interpret the difference here because he has not studied properly. He has only studied the syllabus. So he will not be able to distinguish कि भाई community forest एक region है, buffer zone एक अलग region है, right? या क्योंकि human intervention तो हर जगह हो सकता है. Human intervention can be in all these places, no? So what is the question saying? Habitable or human intervention? So habitable तो जहां वो रहता है, right? Create कर सकता है एक basic dwelling, right? But intervention तो he can do it many places. That is the difference in understanding the options, and that is why we make mistakes. And then we say, no, man, तो ये सही किया था. So if you read between the lines in the question paper, it becomes easy. But obviously before that, you will have to do that practice of reading between the lines. And once you have this habit, you will find that this paper is easy. It is not a tough paper. The only problem is that you have standardized the content, right? Which is commercially promoted, and that content only you are studying. You do not have the ability to go beyond that. Obviously, you are students. You have to prepare as per the direction. And that is why 99% people will always fail. Because there will be few, right now, who will take up the stand, okay, no, let's go beyond this also. Let me understand. I will read some good books. Why will I just use these notes? Right? Because it's such a broad area. So if they are not asking just environment, and they are not asking just polity or governance or policy, but they are asking an integration of that. Right? Now see. So environmental governance is one emerging area. Right? International environmental initiatives is one big area. Ecology or ecological concepts are another area. If you take agriculture as part of economy and you take agriculture as part of ecology, right, you will deal with them in different manner. So economics of agriculture, right? Then ecology or understanding of the ecological aspects of agriculture. Then the understanding of geographical aspect of the agriculture. They will have different understanding. But if you're reading agriculture, then you have to understand all of them together. So why agriculture has become an important? Let's take it, okay, ecology is becoming an important area. And one of the key aspects or key sectors of ecology is also agriculture. India is an agrarian society. So technology ho, to isliye important है themes classify karna चाहिए. We have designed, you will get it, don't worry, right? We have designed the microstructure of every topic. Microstructure is not breaking the topic into subtopics. Microstructure is interpreting that topic into the ideas in which that information can be used. ये बहुत effort का काम होता है. It's not that easy. Right? Sometimes it may take 20 hours to just define, restructure one topic. Because you have to think. It's a president को कैसे पूछेगा, ऐसे पूछेगा. And it's not only president. Then president has to be linked to governor. Right? Then dimensions of governor has to be understood so that president can be asked. So see, you have, let's say you studied one way that president reserves the bill, or governor can ask the president to reserve the bill on state or state bills for its consideration. 201 article, right? One aspect. Can president seek the governor's intervention? Right? Governor can reserve the bill for the president, right? Can president initiate this reconsideration or this process of reserving the bill? Agar union government, take it this way in simple manner, if you have to understand, can union government direct the governor that keep these bills for us? Why not? Emergency is only one aspect. Emergency हो गया तो वो emergency है. See, it's not usual. Emergency तो emergency है. Directions to state. In what cases? That is not the logic. If the bill relates to violating the power of the courts, abrogating, undermining the power of the court, then the governor can, right? If the bill relates to federal relationship, okay, SR Bombay case, Sarkaria Commission recommendation, Unchi Commission recommendation, श्री कृष्ण कमेटी रिपोर्ट, बहुत सारे ऐसे हैं, बट कंक्लूजन कैसी, ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल पर्सपेक्टिव क्या है. If the governor feels that these are the types of bills which can threaten these things, power of the courts, federal relationships, right, any other compliance given by the union government, and tends to violate that compliance in some way, threatens the stability and security of the, let us say, ठीक है. अब इसमें कुछ चीजें तो कॉन्क्रीट है और कुछ चीजें बहुत एब्स्ट्रैक्ट है. So I am asking the reverse. Governor feels, so he can reserve, right? Can this process be initiated by president? If union government feels that this bill you have not reserved for our consideration, you should do it. Can it give reminder? Can it give instructions to the governor? And a governor acts as the agent of center. If governor is acting, who is directing him? So if the statement comes, there is no direct cost provision in the constitution that governor can dictate or president can dictate the governor to reserve certain bills for his consideration. Correct. As a convention, as an implied aspect of governors reserving the bill for the consideration of the president, it is evident that this process or this consideration has been initiated by the union government. अब ये statement गलत है, सही है, totally सही है. अगर गवर्नर ने किया तो उसमें इंटेंट ऑलरेडी यूनियन गवर्नमेंट का था या नहीं था? हाँ, लॉजिकल है. गवर्नर हैज डिस्क्रिशन, बट गवर्नर हैज डिस्क्रिशन विद whom? With respect to whom? The state government, not with respect to union government. Union government से गवर्नर का क्या डिस्क्रिशन है? It's illogical, no? See, you have been studying polity since long time. It's a very basic concept. Okay, that is why UPSC explores these ideas. Right? Sometimes straightforward, yes. Polity part may not be that tough all the time, except for 5-6 questions. So if 20-25 questions generally will be asked, or 18-19, 20 questions will be asked, plus the applied part, governance, policy, scheme. So you'll hardly find 6 to 7, 8 questions which may be tough. 13-14 questions may be doable by most of you. But I'm saying one of the options will create the problem. So out of the options that you know, maybe one will be the problem. 75% will be known by you. And that is what makes the difference. So see, where every mark matters. We cannot be so casual about its study. Because ultimately, whatever knowledge we have, whatever ability we have, that can only be visible only after we qualify this phase. And I'll tell you one thing, your ability which is developed in this manner will also serve you as a tool for CSAT paper. Right? We'll analyze that also one day, don't worry. CSAT paper कैसे डिजाइन होता है? उसका भी एक एटीट्यूड है. Right? It's not a CAT paper. You see, the comprehensions come from the general studies or current affairs perspective. Right? Comprehensions are designed to waste your time. They are deliberately created that way, right? So people who do not know maths much, who may not be so active in ability, right, reasoning and that part, they will have to read comprehension, right? But there can be a method that if I'm using 7 to 9 minutes in reading a comprehension, even if I read the question beforehand, right, most of the tricks will be कि पहले question पढ़ लो, right? क्वेश्चन पढ़ लो, इसीलिए तो उन्होंने इतना लंबा पैराग्राफ दिया कि क्वेश्चन भी पढ़ लो तो भी याद नहीं होगा. जाओ. That is why they have given you, no? If it was a short paragraph, you could have read the question and you could obviously locate, है ना, corners of the paragraph. आपको inflection points, transition points पता चल जाएंगे, यार ये आना चाहिए. But वो पैराग्राफ इतना लंबा है. क्वेश्चन पढ़ भी लिया तो सेंस आ नहीं रहा है. क्वेश्चन भी इंफॉर्मेशन बेस्ड नहीं है. Right? Question wants you to interpret the entire paragraph. तो वहां भी क्वेश्चन डिजाइन होता है किसी वजह से. सी, देयर आर मेथड्स फॉर डूइंग दैट. सो इफ यू आर स्टडिंग योर जीएस लॉजिकली, you will also have that benefit because your brain has become logical. right? You cannot shut your brain while you are doing CSAT. Both have some impact overlapping. It's okay. ठीक है, मैथ्स जिसको आता है चलो उसके तो थोड़ा सा बेनिफिट है ही. But it's not. It does not mean that you have to do maths to qualify, right? You have to qualify, then you have a lot of resources in the exam. So if you are going to read, for example, like I said, if we start with, let's say, article 1 to 4 or 5 to 11, 12 to 35, ये सब parts हैं भाई अलग अलग. So how we are going to design or restructure questions, okay, that will be the focus of how we'll teach, right? जो भी class हम करेंगे उसका design ही वही होगा कि if we know these things, right, now how we will interpret these things, and how a particular question will look like on this topic. Right? So 20, 25 questions, whatever at the end of the day we'll do, so that that topic, whatever we are doing, right, that is understood both conceptually and factually. Our purpose would be to make you memorize it, remember it, conceptually understand it in the class itself. उसके बाद आपको कुछ नहीं करना, आपको जाना है और उसके ऊपर सिर्फ क्वेश्चंस करने हैं. So that process will be completed here itself. Okay, that is why we are focusing on this model 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever. Fine, I know it is most taxing for many of these students who are preparing, studying on their own also since long time. But it is just a matter of few months. If you follow this, something what you call as the graveyard timetable, है, know that? तो graveyard model एक बार की बात है. It will create a permanent foundation for you, whether you, let's say you completely don't qualify this year, you go to interview, you come back, but this model will always remain. It will create that foundation in you every time you can qualify prelims. तो एक तो ABC मॉडल जो है वो दिमाग में होना चाहिए कि हाउ फैक्ट सेंट्रिक क्वेश्चंस कैन बी डिजाइन्ड, हाउ फ्लोटिंग इंफॉर्मेशन कैन बी मिसयूज्ड और यूज्ड इन द एग्जाम, राइट, एंड हाउ एनालिसिस टू फैक्ट मॉडल कैन वर्क. ये तीन ब्रॉड मॉडल्स हैं, राइट. वी कैन से कि हाँ क्वेश्चंस टुडे आर मोर एनालिसिस बेस्ड. क्वेश्चंस ऑलवेज वर एनालिसिस बेस्ड, द डिग्री वाज चेंजिंग. पहले फैक्ट बेस्ड ज्यादा थे. फैक्ट बेस्ड का मतलब क्या होता है? सी, फैक्ट्स आर डायरेक्ट, facts are interpreted, they can be indirect also. Fine. So let us now come to, so you have understood how the logic can be developed to understand this exam, right? Scoring 85 to 110, 120, that should be the target, right? In fact 85 I'm only saying when obviously like the 2023 paper had come, right? Obviously your range might reduce, but I'm saying again, if you go and see the paper properly, you will find out that these three variations will be visible, because any institution, right, evolves, but it does not evolve to that extent where people cannot comprehend this evolution. तो यूपीएससी चेंज हो रहा है, इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि ऐसे चेंज हो रहा है कि हर दिन चेंज हो रहा है, ऐसा नहीं होता है, right? These are such big institutions catering to lakhs and crores of people. They cannot keep changing every day. The exam question paper might change, fine, the underlying method will not change. So if you see broadly, now what are the areas, right? You have like 8 or 9 topics in your syllabus, right? Let's say. तो पहले तो सबसे important है that our score, target score should be clear. कि भाई what is the target score? Whatever happens, flood आ जाए, disaster हो जाए, तो भी मैं निकलूंगा. Somebody will say impossible है, right? बहुत सारे बच्चे लेके आए. Many students have scored 124, 126, 140, 145. Right? So जो भी 120s में हैं, they would have at least targeted 140. जो 140s में हैं, right? They have been helped by Hanuman ji that we cannot do. Right? कुछ 140s में हैं जो तुक्के से हैं. Fluke is also one of the important factor that works in an exam which has so much of population aspiring for. Everywhere you will find that. Everywhere. Okay, so you cannot deny that. The human error, the institutional error, whatever is there. And that is not an error. Why? That is an opportunity. Right? Not necessarily everybody will study that much, will know that much, but still, he will have the opportunity to enter the system. Nobody can deny that. Right? Educated politicians भी uneducated भी हैं. Right? Hard working bureaucrats भी हैं और खराब bureaucrats भी हैं. What makes the difference? Opportunity for everyone. So you should not deny that. But you should always think कि भाई I am not the chosen one. आप उतने खुशकिस्मत नहीं हैं. Fine. So let's say. So let's set a target कि भाई ठीक है 140 होना चाहिए भाई. Whatever happens मुझे इतना तो लाने ही लाना. ठीक है. फिर ये आते आते 120 पे आ जाएगा. Right. So syllabus classification, if we see, you have around 9 topics. Now these 9 topics you can say are 9 sectors, 9 subjects. Not necessarily they are subjects. They are basically 9 areas. क्योंकि subject होता तो coverage बहुत broad हो जाएगा. For example, let us say, if we broadly classify these 9 topics, I'll say, okay, polity, yeah, Indian polity and constitution is one area. क्या percentage है, क्या नहीं है, सब बकवास analysis doesn't matter. Right? If 20 questions come, I will be able to do 20 questions. If 30 comes, I'll be able to do 30. It doesn't matter to me. But I will not prepare for 15 questions, no? Because I don't know what 15 questions they will be. Right? मुझे तो पढ़ना ही पढ़ना है. एक ये segment है जो important है, क्योंकि इससे बहुत सारा current भी developments we can do, right? Or add policies, right? Schemes. चलो उसको we'll deal separately. Now see, so one part becomes this important. Other part is your environment. Understand the logic now. See, environment and biodiversity is a technical topic. Fine. A technical topic means that it requires you to have some basic understanding or basic conceptual understanding of these areas. People from humanities background, right? They may not be able to complicate or understand that in a complicated manner. But everybody has studied some basic environment, right? 9, 10th, 11, 12, geography, environment, जो भी सी. So ये जो part है, एक part, right? ये basically geography के basics से ही आता है. So if you have understanding of geography environment in collaboration, then there are many things which you can answer here, right? Many things you can answer here. So either you read it here, apply it here, or you read it here, apply it here. It doesn't matter, right? Your effort time reduced. ठीक है? अब environment को further classify करेंगे. He'll do it. I'm not getting into his domain, but let us say because गलती से थोड़ी बहुत डिग्री मेरी भी है इसमें, तो मुझे इंटरेस्ट आ जाता है बार बार, right? But right, this area, right, it can be broken into two major parts: static and dynamic. The dynamics of environment is basically conventions, right? International summits. अब COP28 चल रहा है, फाइन. तो अब उसके भी स्पेसिफिक एस्पेक्ट्स को जानना जरूरी है. COP क्या है, COP28 क्या है, ओके फाइन, राइट. बट टेक्निकली, राइट, इज COP only about environment? No, it's not about environment. It is about global environmental governance. Fine, let's see. So unless you have some broad criteria, but first understand syllabus कि भाई there are topics, इसको broad criteria में break करते हैं हम कि ये standalone subject, ये combination, फिर ये standalone subject, फिर इसका combination. See, right? Now see. So these areas again very important. Right? Like I said, this is how the global policies are shaped. This is where the entire global effort is being directed. So you cannot deny it. Fine. इसमें भी बहुत conceptual terms है, important है. Right. Then you have, that's another important area, economy. Now, Indian economy or just economy. Economy, if you study, if you talk about paper 3, so the Indian economic system. दैट्स अ वेरी बिगर एरिया. यहाँ पे इकोनॉमी का फोकस क्या होता है? सी, राइट, इट इज डोमिनेंटली करंट बेस्ड. करंट बेस्ड में भी 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years. डोमिनेंटली करंट बेस्ड क्यों है? बिकॉज ये जो टॉपिक है ये पॉलिसी सेंट्रिक है. सो ऑनलाइन बेटिंग, राइट, बैन हो गया. बैन हो गया. स्टेट स्पेसिफिक लॉ है. फाइन. सी, द क्वेश्चन इज टेक्निकली अबाउट इकोनॉमी policy, right? But the basic information, basic concept coming from polity itself, like let us say. So ये policy centric questions आते हैं. अब for that you study, let's say, economic survey, right? Numerous analysis you study. अब वो analysis part जो है वो story है, that is for mains, right? हमारे लिए क्या important है? See, so economic survey सबसे dominant aspect क्या है हमारे लिए? Indicators. Right? Indicators, current developments, right? Development, एक इकोनॉमिक सर्वे में एक पार्ट आता है भाई, डेवलपमेंट इकोनॉमी, राइट, वेयर स्कीम्स, प्रोग्राम्स, एलोकेशंस, एनालिसिस इज डन. स्पेसिफिक की टर्म्स आर यूज्ड. फॉर एग्जांपल, इंक्लूसिव डेवलपमेंट एक टर्म है, राइट, एवरीबॉडी नोज अबाउट इट, बट लेट्स से इकोनॉमिक सर्वे उसको डिफाइन करता है कि डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड क्या है भाई. See, it is specific because we are talking about a subject which studies that. We are not talking about a person, a political science or PubAd student who is interpreting what is inclusive development, right? That is more of interpretation. But if you have to define what is inclusive development, right, or what is demographic dividend, then you have to be specific. You cannot simply define it casually, right? So economic survey का benefit एक ये है that many of the things which are asked in this section are basically definitions. Mostly definitions है. आप जाके पेपर देखो, कुछ चीजों को छोड़ के, हाँ, एक बार डेफिनेशन समझ में आने लगी. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, लेट्स से एग्जाम्पल लेते हैं भाई, इन्फ्लेशन. नाउ इन्फ्लेशन सबसे प्राइमरी डेफिनेशन. व्हाट इज द प्राइमरी डेफिनेशन ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन? Sustained rise or average rise in prices of goods and services, right? So price increase of goods and services. Goods and services produced within or outside? That is, you know the concept, no? मैं इकोनॉमिक्स का टीचर थोड़ा ना भाई, बट पढ़ा तो मैंने भी है यूपीएससी के लिए. बन सकता था बट पबैट से प्यार हो गया. व्हाट टू डू? एक टाइम पे एक ही फोकस होना चाहिए. बताओ भैया. मिस्टर हरीश बताओ. Within. Okay, Aditya, within. Now you say that economy is interconnected. है ना? So that means you're trying to say, right? Correct. But you're trying to say कि by the movement of goods and services in this territory only impact the inflation. No. Then how can you say this is correct? अब ये क्यों नहीं पूछा है? पढ़ते हुए इकोनॉमिक्स है, दृष्टि, विजन सब खत्म हो गया वहां पे. दूरदृष्टि है. थिंक अबाउट इट. नाउ सी आई एम सेइंग क्वेश्चन डिजाइन कैसे होता है. सी, प्रीलिम्स इज नॉट एन एरिया ऑफ एक्सपर्टीज. प्रीलिम्स इज एन एरिया ऑफ कॉमन सेंस. तो ऐसा नहीं कि कोई पीएचडी इकोनॉमिक्स में होगा वो पढ़ाएगा तभी तुम्हारी प्रीलिम्स क्लियर होगा, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. इलॉजिकल है, right? Anybody who is writing UPSC, giving interviews, scoring good marks has that common sense. Only thing is how they have used it. हम कुछ भी पढ़ेंगे समझ में आ जाएगा, ऐसा क्या है? but you have to study so many, technically 22 subjects you have to study, right? So how can you say I don't know this, I know this? No, you have to know the common sense of everything. That is what this exam is designed for, right? Policy maker या policy advisor बनना है तो कुछ तो आना चाहिए ना. Fine. So think about it. Let's say I've given you one idea. So let's say how the question will be designed now. तो inflation है, आपने पढ़ा भैया demand pull, cost push, right? अब इसके basis पे you identified the factors. Simple है, right? अब wholesale price है, right? Commercial और क्या? Consumer price, correct? हाँ. Retail price है. So inflation किस पे evaluate होता है? WPI, base. But there has to be base, no? Price fluctuations will be with respect to a base. Base generally 10-year decade या 1 decade लिया जाता है. क्यों? मतलब 1 decade का gap जो होता है वो base लिया जाता है. क्यों? Correct. Fluctuations are not able to stabilize, are not able to become a trend in short time. So you measure a lot of things, headline inflation, right? And likewise, unless you know the headline inflation over a period of time, then you cannot come to that criteria, right? So let's say you have now this question. अब इसके लिए economic survey जानने की जरूरत नहीं है, right? Neither you need to know a lot of current affairs also. You need to know basic concept, basic understanding, NCERT level economic concept. But you can apply it at many places now. So let's say when you read this part, you require first the understanding of definitions. Definitions will get you more than 50 to 60% questions in this part. Right? Economic survey can get you 2 to 3 questions, 4 questions, fine. But that also can be understood through definitions. Taking economic survey, finding out the basic indicators and definitions which exist now. So Google tax क्या है? अच्छा, ऑनलाइन गेमिंग के implications क्या होंगे? ये तो applied है. This is not a direct information question, right? Analysis to fact. So, or likewise, see, so you'll find many questions here. So don't treat this as tough topic. It's not a tough topic. Right? You have to think from administrator's perspective, not from an economics student's perspective. Delhi School of Economics का student नहीं बनने की जरूरत है यहाँ पे. It will be a waste of time. In the mains also, when you see the question, health sector is expanding, right? There's a need to boost the primary health sector to get the benefits of the tertiary health sector. ये कोई economic का question है? ये तो governance का question है basically. And likewise, the industrial corridors that are being created, free trade corridors or free trade agreements with certain countries have boosted the India's regional trade agreements. IR, economy, right? Governance. So the biggest problem is, right, in the urge for specialization, we have lost the actual essence of the exam. Fine. So we feel if Manmohan Singh comes and teaches us, then only, right, it will be worth understanding. That is illogical. If Manmohan Singh teaches, you will never qualify that paper. Right? Narrow perspective, limited understanding, right? No interconnections. तो हमें चाहिए नहीं वो, that illogical है. So economy, environment, biodiversity, polity एक important, बहुत important aspect है. Then next obviously was history or culture. Right? Even though I would say कि भाई ठीक है, culture important है, right? But that is also huge, immense है culture. So there can be strategy, right? There are certain common aspects, static aspects, which everyone studies and knows. For example, right? What kind of बताओ भैया, तुम्हें लगा सर को हिस्ट्री नहीं आती? पढ़ी नहीं है मैंने, आती है लेकिन हाँ. Fine? तो right. Let us say कि भाई हड़प्पन civilization या मोहनजोदारो, right? Specific type of utensils were used. क्या थे
हाँ,
ब्लैक। ग्रे वेयर क्या बोलते थे उसको? हाँ, ग्रे वेयर ना। ठीक है। तुम्हारी जो है बचपन में पिटाई होती तो तुम आज पढ़े लिखे बच्चे होते। हुआ था? मैंने नहीं किया ना, इसलिए मैं भी छोटा था उस समय बस, राइट। बट ठीक है, मुझे तो बहुत पीटा है, राइट। सो पढ़ने के लिए नहीं, पढ़ने में आई वाज ऑलवेज गुड। फाइन। सो लॉजिकली लेट्स से यू हैव सम यूटेंसिल्स यूज्ड। अब सी यूटेंसिल्स हैं, टाइमलाइन है, ग्रेट बात है, ग्रेट बात का डायमेंशन है, राइट, ये सबको पता है। Who will be a student now in today's era who may not be knowing about these things? So first of all, we have to standardize कि भाई out of this X static information, which of this 10% of this X static information is necessary for us to know so that we can unburden our brain from that information. So ऐसे क्वेश्चंस जो स्टैंडर्ड हैं उसको सिर्फ हमें क्वेश्चंस के फॉर्मेट में पढ़ना है, याद नहीं करना है। तो आपका एक ब्रेन का पार्ट खाली हो गया। फाइन, नाउ सी द अदर। व्हेन यू आर लुकिंग एट आर्ट एंड कल्चर, राइट, देन यू हैव टू डिफाइन कि भाई व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इसकी कैटेगरीज क्या है। अब दे कैन आस्क एवरीथिंग। फाइन, फॉर एग्जांपल अब एक क्वेश्चन आ गया, भाई यात्रा क्या है? क्या है यात्रा? यात्रा ऑनलाइन इंटेलिजेंट बच्चे। For what? What is the theme? ड्रामा सौविक बताओ। हाँ, करेक्ट। और what type of drama is it? यात्रा है, ठीक है, पढ़ लिया। यात्रा के स्पेसिफिक्स क्या है? बताओ भैया, ड्रामा है यात्रा, करेक्ट। व्हाट काइंड ऑफ ड्रामा, व्हाट इज द थीम ऑफ यात्रा, राइट। अब आपने ये पढ़ लिया, टीचर ने आपको बता दिया यात्रा वेस्ट बंगाल यहाँ यहाँ एक ड्रामा या थिएटर है which whose theme is mostly based on Ramayana and likewise, for example. You have got the information, right? अब यात्रा की तरह ही, see, we go one step ahead. Fine. See, that is the beauty of something called latecomer advantage. You understand? Latecomer's advantage, not the first comer's advantage. So we know about them everything. Them means those 2, 3 or 4 who are so called है ना established. So उनके बारे में सब पता है। इतना ज्यादा पता चल गया कि उनका सब कुछ पता चल गया हमें। उनकी लिमिट, उनकी एबिलिटी, उनकी एपिक्स क्या हो सकता है। सी, बंगाल फोक, करेक्ट, भक्ति मूवमेंट। फाइन, लेट अस से यात्रा ये है। अब यात्रा और नौटंकी, लेट्स से अभी somebody told me कि भाई ये भी ड्रामा है और ये भी ड्रामा है। लॉर्ड कृष्णा, रामायण, themes can vary, right, but there is a format of yatra, right? So यात्रा और नौटंकी। अब नौटंकी भी एक फोक है। फाइन, वेयर इज दिस नौटंकी डन? एवरीवेयर। पार्लियामेंट में सबसे ज्यादा नौटंकी। फाइन, 2-3 दिन पहले हुई भी है। फाइन, बट लॉजिकली, राइट, एज अ फोक फॉर्म, right, they may have some similarities, they may have some differences. So इसकी commonalities एक theme है, इसके differences एक theme है। We are not just concerned about some folk dances or folk formats, right? We are also concerned about the comparisons, right? Geographical क्लासिफिकेशन, लोकेशनल क्लासिफिकेशन, ये भी एक फोकस हो गया. Then it can be further divided to macro levels कि भाई what is the use, what kind of body language and expression is used in these art forms. ठीक है, जैसे आप नॉर्मली जो है क्लासिकल जो डांसेस आप पढ़ते हो, फॉर एग्जांपल कथक और कुचिपुड़ी, फाइन, ये कहाँ होता है? कुचिपुड़ी जो कथक, बिहू, आई एम आस्किंग हिम. चलो ये तो फेस्टिवल फोक है. Now when you are looking at these Kathak, Kuchipudi or Kathakali, right, or Bharatnatyam or something, right, it is not just about where they are done, what is the theme, but it is also about the posture. Mudra or Bhav Bhangima, this is called. Now UPSC has asked enough about what are the features of Kuchipudi as a dance. So it will be logically, more interested about what? Interested about what are the postures, what are the mudras, right? It has asked many times or over a period of time, right? How or what is that Raudra Shiva, the Raudra Roop of Shiva, or the dancing form of Shiva, Nataraj, and likewise. See, it has asked some minute aspects like the Nataraj posture, what is the movement of the hands? Which direction do we have the movement of the hands? How many hands are visible? अरे अभी मत बताओ मुझे, यूपीएससी को बताना. So logically, see, now they will be concerned. So when you say art and culture, right, architecture, so first broad divisions are important. Then sub classifications are important so that our effort gets minimized. Otherwise, we'll keep reading Singhania Sahab and it will never end. सिंघानिया साहब, मैं फेंके हुए पैसे आज भी नहीं लेता हूं. तो लॉजिकली ठीक है, किसी की किताब भी पढ़ना सिर्फ इसलिए कि सिर्फ उसमें सब कुछ है, इलॉजिकल है. क्योंकि सब कुछ पढ़ना है तो फिर सब कुछ पढ़ना पड़ेगा ना. यू कैन नॉट हैव जस्ट वन बुक, एनी बुक, इट मे हेल्प सर्व द पर्पस, यस, बट आई एम सिंपली सेइंग अनलेस यू हैव अ स्ट्रक्चर व्हिच इज डिजाइन्ड, इट डज नॉट सीम फिट. तो उस इंफॉर्मेशन को फिट करना भी तो जरूरी है, राइट, अप्लाई करना भी जरूरी है. इंफॉर्मेशन होना सिर्फ इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है. इट गिव्स यू फील गुड फैक्टर, आई हैव माय नोट्स. हाउ मच आई नो? ओनली 10% ऑफ दैट. आई नो 100% ऑफ दैट. कैन आई अप्लाई इट? नो, आई कैन नॉट, बिकॉज आई डोंट नो हाउ टू अप्लाई इट. दैट इज व्हाई कंपटीशन इज कंपटीशन, राइट. कंपटीशन डज नॉट guarantee your knowing as the parameter of success. So competition does not require knowing, it also requires training, applying that information, right? और प्रीलिम्स कहीं ना कहीं obviously इसको बहुत एक वाइडर ब्रॉडर पर्सपेक्टिव में पूछता है. ठीक है, मेंस जहां थोड़ा सा मोर डेप्थ वाइज है, प्रीलिम्स ज्यादा ब्रॉड वाइज है, right? both combinations work, right? So art and culture, architecture, right, mudras, bhav bhangimas, right, or whatever you study about it, food, aesthetics, right, things which have been borrowed from outside, what has been the impact of those invaders, and likewise and likewise and likewise. Like for example, पियदासी किसको बोला जाता था? अशोका को क्यों बोला जाता था? 𝗟𝗲𝗿𝗍 क्यों बोला था? Servant of Dharma, you're saying? Ashoka. Correct, but that's just one example, right? We can make it to take it to very different levels, but it is just a basic example for you. तो ये बोला जाता था, किसको बोला था? अशोक को बोला था, correct. Fine. Now you know this. What does this mean that you know this, right? What is the reference of this? Is it mentioned in any of the texts? टेक्स्ट पे है, एडिक्ट में है, राइट? जताका टेल्स में कहाँ कहीं पे है? एजेंट ऑफ गॉड टू सर्व, करेक्ट. फाइन. सो वाज इट अ बोरोड नेम? वाज इट अ डिफाइंड नेम? राइट? वाज इट अ कोलोकियल नेम? क्या होता है? Now see, the UPSC exam has a standard vocabulary. It makes things complicated based on that also, like PubAd or that international relations or certain areas जो है, for example ये जो economics है paper 3, governance paper 2, society paper 1. So these areas जो है या जो भी philosophies and principles ethics का, they are made complicated by using that vocabulary. But उस vocabulary का भी एक standard है, and it does not go beyond that. Right? But it takes. So let us say, by what kind of name? What is the reference? Fine. Was it now taken up by anyone else? That is also very typical thing. Maybe we should. Do we know this or not? Right? Or Ashoka was the only one? Right. ये title है, name है, right? ये title was donned by other rulers also or not? So in any case, right? I'm just giving an example. We are not going to do that all this in one class, right? So you see, if you're taking this history, art and culture, then we have to move from just information based. Art and culture definitely gives you good marks because that is something like direct marks. If you know, you can do it, right? History is one area. This also had a lot of trends. Normally, this used to dominate. Fine. But we have always seen a variation between modern versus ancient. Obviously, medieval era has largely been neglected. And now NCERT has also neglected it. Fine. So let's not have much focus on that. But yes, we should know some basic things. So it is variation between this. Right? In the modern also, more focus on the freedom movement. Mainly freedom movement, right? Or if sometimes they become little complicated, then they will be talking socio-religious reforms. And these are two basic areas where it is important. But here also, there are a lot of information to be known. ठीक है, अब ये information centric part है, fine? हाँ, कुछ इसमें analysis, some part elementary analysis can come. This has a lot of analysis. People mistake it for fact, but it has a lot of analysis. For example, if I take जनरली फोकस होता है ये पढ़ना, राइट? और अगर मैं यूज करूं पोस्ट वैदिक, व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन देम? व्हाट इज द कट ऑफ पॉइंट कि भाई वैदिक इज गया, अब पोस्ट वैदिक आ गया है, वेबर इज गॉन, पोस्ट वेबर आ गया, तो अब मुझे एनपीएम है, न्यू लिबरल मूवमेंट है, पोस्ट वेबर आने लगा. व्हाट इज दैट कट ऑफ फॉर वैदिक टू पोस्ट वैदिक? Is there a timeline? Is there an incident? What is there? Agriculture expansion and use of iron. Metal ka use ek. Fine. So that means the post-Vedic or the Vedic period did not have this specific features, right? So let's say you get a simple question. what distinguishes the Vedic from the post-Vedic period? They're not much concerned about, let's say, what was the specific of Vedic period, right? So if they start asking you simple question, तो आपको ये कहीं ना कहीं सोचना पड़ेगा ना कि भाई what was that defining factor, right? Or if the question is that some of these features or which of the following features were carried forward from the Vedic to the post-Vedic period. I'm only giving you an idea. I'm not talking about actual content right now. Fine. So this history may we have to think of this. Obviously, typical information is asked. We cannot deny the aspect that this falls under the category A broadly. Right? If assertion and reasoning comes, which also usually comes, so if A and R is there, then history or culture or ancient history becomes a very important area. Geography, environment becomes a very important area which can complicate assertion and reasoning. Right? The term Yavan was used for whom? ये शामताच ने आंसर दिया यवन अच्छा स्टूडेंट सम सर सेलेक्टेड कैंडिडेट दे हैड आस्क्ड वो तो बताया उसको बताना ही चाहिए she should have conveyed it. Yes, what is big deal? Fine. ये तो यूपी पीसीएस वाले को ज्यादा पता होगा. Right, so you are using the word yavana. Yavana word is for Greeks. Who used this term? They used to call themselves. So there is a reference to Yavana Priya. Somebody is writing pepper, not pepper. Right? Pepper to सिर्फ एक मसाला है. Yavan Priya or Priya was reference to what the Yavanas like. What is that? Their fascination, enchantment. East. सब ईस्ट आना चाहते थे. अलेक्जेंडर ईस्ट आना चाहता था, उसका फादर ईस्ट आना चाहता था, और ईरानियन भी ईस्ट आना चाहता, सब आना पर्शियन भी ईस्ट आना चाहते थे. So the Yavan Priya is a general reference to their liking and enchantment with the East. Puja in Pandey, Ashtadhyayi. So the reference to this term is not just about spices, it is about the land of spices. तो उसने गलत आंसर दिया अगर उसने स्पाइसेस बोला तो. अच्छा ग्रीस बोला. हाँ राइट, या ऑप्शन ही गलत होगा है ना. केबीसी का भी लेवल उतना नहीं है अभी, इंफॉर्मेशन ही निकाल रहे हैं चैटबॉट से वो. भाई केबीसी दे आर डिजाइनिंग दिस, यू सी द क्वेश्चंस, इट्स कमिंग फ्रॉम द एआई चैटबॉट, है ना. राइट, बट सी, so their reference, broader reference is to the land of spices. And एक अगर उसको हम सिंप्लीफाई करें तो हाँ ठीक है भाई, they were referring to the spices. उसमें एक बहुत टिपिकल चीज होता था ब्लैक पेपर, राइट, और बेल पेपर. हाँ, इज इट ऑल्सो कॉल्ड द बेल पेपर? Anybody? Black pepper or bell pepper? Do we call it bell pepper? We have white pepper also, no? क्यों था ये? See, it was having a very high price in their market. This was considered something exotic. And they used to store it. They used to trade with it. They used to bargain with it. बिल्कुल बार्टर करते थे, उसको यूज करते थे. इतना ये पॉपुलर था. So it created that flavor, the taste. 𝗟𝗲, no sir. Is it not called bell pepper? See, bell pepper is capsicum. सही है. ठीक है. So यूपीएससी इसमें भी इंटरेस्टेड होता है. That's called General knowledge. GK, huh?
Cooking as a hobby. The interview में
His hobby is cooking, but his hobby is also cooking, huh? You have? सुमित ने खाना बनाया था मैंने सुना.
Yes, sir.
अच्छा, you made it joint effort, joint venture, but we never saw that खाना ever on our plate. Huh? Okay, so let us say things like this. There are so many things. Obviously, information is unending, but जो nature of information analysis है history में, right? वो भी to a large extent we can understand. Yes, we cannot totally control it. So history is that segment where you can score well, but you'll have to put a lot of effort. Memorization is important, right? Assertion reasoning में उसका understanding important है, but 60%, 50% of the part of history and culture can be done easily. So every segment has such aspects which may seem very difficult for so many people, but not for people who logically use it or understand it. तो वहां पे एक एडवांटेज मिल सकता है कि भाई जो फैक्ट्स हैं वो तो आते ही हैं, बट जो कॉम्प्लिकेशंस हैं वो भी हम डील कर सकते हैं. बट अगेन उसके लिए भी वही है, यू हैव टू पुट लॉट ऑफ एफर्ट. फाइन. प्लस ज्योग्राफी यूजुअल है, सी मेजर पार्ट स्टैटिक है, ठीक है. जनरली बहुत डायनेमिक एस्पेक्ट्स ज्योग्राफी में नहीं आते, बट इकोनॉमिक ज्योग्राफी में दे कैन कम. फाइन. एनर्जी दे कैन आस्क, agriculture they can ask, basically developmental geography they can ask, right? Otherwise, yes, map is also, yes, it's like mathematics, you can score well, fine. But then again, lot of information, visual memory is required to do resources, correct? Mapping and resources are two areas, or developmental geography is one area where you can have lot of marks you can get, fine. Otherwise फिजिकल ज्योग्राफी नॉर्मली सभी रटते हैं, सबको पता होता है ना भाई? एवरीबडी नोज इट और नॉट? फाइन. तो टॉन्स किसका वो है ट्रिब्यूटरी? यमुना. Right? So, likewise, अब इसमें भी बहुत सारे information है. Yes, nobody can have the entire information, but partly through questions, partly through class, partly through memorization techniques, we can have some control over this part, right? But obviously, this also cannot be totally. So, like history and geography, right? We can tame 50% of the part and expect that if there are overall 30 questions or 35 questions, we can tackle 17 to 20 questions easily. Not easily in the sense, easily only after that rigorous process you go through. Fine. Art and culture almost same. Fine. But more in environment, more in polity, technically more in economy. You can score very high marks in these areas. Right? So geography भी एक ऐसा area. फिर एक important area है भाई sector schemes. Right? These schemes, social sector initiatives, actually the syllabus says. So social sector schemes and initiatives, ये important area. Here you find the dynamic questions basically correct. अब that we can say कि it is dominantly current floating information type model है. इसमें diverse questions पूछे जा सकते हैं. Fine. And we have to sectorally understand this part. इसके लिए India book का best use है. Right? So best model है कि भाई for use it IYB. Obviously this is also lot of effort but not much benefit, right? Because it also will include so many things which we are already studying. But India book can be used as basic guideline for certain kinds of information, right? Some information which may not be visible anywhere, right, is directly mentioned there. It may be a very irrelevant information, but it can be asked in the exam. Because it is a government source, so it provides us with some authenticity. Many times data are incorrect, right? So we don't need that data or number. We only need some facts, which we should again verify with the Google, right? Then only we should accept it. But कुछ facts हैं जो यहाँ पे जरूरी हैं. कुछ chapters हैं, all together 23-24 chapters होते हैं इसमें, right? इसमें से 7 to 9 chapters are important, not the entire chapter, only the gist of those. So it's better to have an India yearbook type based questions, right? So the factual part under this can be done through questions, because one obviously who will make the question will have to read it. So instead of reading a lot of summary of India yearbook and 400-500 pages of nothing, hardly 10 marks मिलेंगे. 10 marks बहुत होते हैं, right? होने के लिए, but तब होते हैं जब already 90 आ रहे हो, है ना? तो प्रॉब्लम ये है कि भाई वो 10 marks के लिए can I invest 400 pages, 500, that too in February, March somewhere, right? April, जब भी वो आएगी तो बहुत मुश्किल है ना. So best model is that how we can have a hybrid of questions based on this, right? And how we can manipulate those questions, that will be more easy. So social sector initiative, ये एक बहुत important part है. 20%, बहुत सारे 20% of the paper, to the extent of 20% comes from these areas in very different ways, right? It can have some static part, it can have some dominant part. Like they can ask questions about women, right? Gender development, or questions about social justice, questions regarding structure of society, right? Many times they have asked कि भाई जमींदारी सिस्टम के फीचर्स क्या थे, रॉयतवाड़ी सिस्टम के फीचर्स. कोई बोलेगा हिस्ट्री का क्वेश्चन है, फाइन. पॉलिटी वाला बोलेगा पॉलिटी का क्वेश्चन है. But technically ये question क्या है? This question is more about the social structure, the Indian society and its evolution. So if they ask the vassal system क्या था, right? महलवाड़ी सिस्टम और रोहितवाड़ी सिस्टम में डिफरेंस क्या था, right? तो हिस्टोरिकल है, बट सी हिस्टोरिकल कल्चरल है. इट्स नॉट जस्ट हिस्टोरिकल. Caste system in India, right? What was the concept of Dvij in India? And like we, so they are in the habit of asking such questions. So they can say कि भाई Article 17, one option, right? Or one of these statement, Article 17 talks about this, right? Indian social structure is based on caste, or not on the caste, but on the Varna system. Now see, an average student will get confused here itself. कि भाई it is based on caste or Varna system, right? Then another statement can be the recent or the Prevention of Civil Rights Act or Protection of Civil Rights Act, right? Or the SC/ST Prevention of Atrocities Act talks about this. Three statements coming from three different parts of the syllabus. And the fourth statement now, that recently the government of this, right, has defined this community as a tribal community. Current भी आ गया उसके अंदर. So generally social sector initiatives or these areas, right, they reflect these kind of questions. For them, you need to know both static and current affairs. So if you say, my logic would be that technically there is no current affairs question. Right? There is always a analysis based question, always a fact and analysis based question, or floating information based question, and likewise only these three broad categories exist. Within this, your fact, information, resources all are used. Another, like you have area international relations. Now IR, they are not asking much question. It is more about the fact based question on IR. So what is G20, what is G77, what is this, right? Or what is this, what is this, what is this, likewise. Or maybe some historical information they want to know. The League of Nations was started with so many nations together, right? Or the most favored nation under WTO talks about this, right? Or for that matter, anything, right? The international development agencies focus on or provide funding for these particular purposes, right? India is one of the major recipient of international donor agencies or international development agencies. So they may be asking these kind of questions also. Like I said, floating information, which require your understanding. So broadly, if you target this paper properly, it will, obviously it requires time, and it can be tackled easily. Lot of information in short span of time can only be acquired when there are multiple methods of acquiring it. Right? Sitting in a room, mugging it, good. Nothing wrong with that. Fine. But there are multiple channels of disseminating this information. Your brain becomes more receptive, right? More tuned for that. So you release a lot of dopamine. You feel good about it. Right? But you are sitting in a room, then you release a lot of cortisol. क्या है dopamine? What is a dopamine? Hormone, chemical. Cortisol, stress hormone. Fine. Is it always bad? Cortisol? Let's say UPSC बहुत interesting institution है. वो बोलते हैं भाई football players, right? They use the muscular energy in a very high stress situation, right? Physically challenging situation. Fine. Whereas chess players use the same energy in a highly mentally challenging situation. Who has greater possibility of developing cortisol? इतना आसान नहीं है. Not all is bad. It's essential up to a limit for some situations. Cortisol is one reason for accumulation of fat in the body. Right? But cortisol also has positive aspects, no doubt. क्यों भाई? जिसको चेस आता होगा वही तो खेलेगा कि जिसको नहीं आता है वो खेल रहा है? वही उसको होगा ना जिसको नहीं आता है. Right? Understand my logic. I'm simply saying when people are playing chess, right? They know chess. That is why they are playing it. No, they are not like this old Rajendra students, aspirants. कि not knowing UPSC was sitting in the exam, huh? बताओ. No, that's correct. I'm asking. But cortisol gets also released. No, there is pressure. There is stress. Let's say a footballer wants to take the penalty kick. What will happen? Will the dopamine be released? No. You cannot categorize these hormones that way. First, understand this way. Specific situations, something becomes more prominent, but your body is an organic entity. It doesn't work that way. Classical scholars का structure नहीं है वो. वो एक dynamic entity है. See? The body has its own mechanism to reduce the ill effects of excess cortisol. Right? And while doing that, the body is occupied. So it may want to release dopamine, but it will not be able to do it. है ना? छोटी सी जान है बॉडी, कितना काम करेगी? सब एक साथ तो नहीं कर सकती. But try to understand. When you say people are playing chess, they are using. It is not the logic. If you are enjoying that game, you are releasing dopamine, not cortisol. Why high stress situation किसके लिए जो enjoy नहीं कर रहा है ना? And what is the stress? There are two kinds of stress. The bodily stress talks about the organs. How stressed organs are in performing their functions. So if your body expects things of an external threat, it releases cortisol because it's a stress hormone. Fine, your body has a stress. It senses a danger. तो एक फुटबॉल खिलाड़ी को ज्यादा डर होगा ना भाई कि अभी ये पार मारने वाला है मुझे. Body line cricket, have you heard of that? England and Australia, right? Very popular for body line cricket. That was also a phase of cricket, right? Where the fast bowlers used to hit the body of the batsman. So Donald Bradman इसलिए माना जाता है कि one of the biggest cricketers है. Not because he scored the runs in that time, but because there were hardly any protective gears available with the players, and still he played it. Sir Donald Bradman. तो जब आपकी बॉडी स्ट्रेस या कोई थ्रेट फियर सेंस करेगी वो रिलीज करेगी, बिकॉज इट हैज टू सेंसिटाइज यू टू दैट, राइट? तो आपको कोई चाकू लेके मारने आ रहा है और आप डोपामीन ही रिलीज कर रहे हैं ना, आ भैया आजा आजा, राइट? एनिमल है, मैं बॉबी देओल हूं, एनिमल का काटो भाई गला आ जाओ. It also makes alert of upcoming risk. मैं बोल चुका लेखा जी, लेट हो गया लिखने में. Fine, good. So logically, if you are, let's say, dealing with prelims, the most fundamental character of any aspirant should be that how generalized, but conceptually how specific his knowledge is. Broad and conceptually correct. Broad and conceptually correct. तो इंफॉर्मेशन तो आई जाएगी, राइट? तो ये फैक्ट है कि भाई हम, सुमित अभी एनालिसिस कर रहे हैं कि भाई मुझे कॉर्टिसोल हो रहा है कि डोपामीन हो रहा है, क्या हो रहा है अभी, राइट? तो ऐसे बहुत सारे दे हैव साइंस एंड टेक और बेसिक साइंस हैव नॉट, वी विल टॉक अबाउट टुमारो, राइट? दैट इज व्हाई आई डिड नॉट एंटर इनटू दैट एरिया. टीचर्स मेरे ऊपर चढ़ जाएंगे, सब आप ही बता रहे हो यार ये क्या बात है. सो ऑब्वियसली वो मेरा डोमेन नहीं है, बट बेसिक साइंस एंड टेक आर सच एरियाज, right, which can also give you a lot of marks. Only the language, like I said, if you talk about sprinklers and drip, सिर्फ language का importance है कि what will be the nature of statement which will be asked in the exam. So logically, see, you are all allowed, welcome to study, right? We'll teach you. I will take up polity and governance, or basically polity, constitution. Governance is only one applied part. Governance is not part of prelims. It is basically public policy. That means policy, not theory, but policies related to social sector initiatives, developmental initiatives. So we'll talk about that, right? Around 3 hours of class we'll have, and half an hour or 10 minutes break, and then we will have a question session every day, because that is what will make you or strengthen your memory over a period of time, right? So your analysis and your memory both are necessary. Test, when they will be conducted, obviously once a part is over, वो क्या करेंगे, वो challenge करेंगे अब आपको. So it's not necessary that test you should score very high, but I would say if you are giving the test consistently, the score should be same, or it should increase, it should not decline. If there is consistency in the score, it is good. You don't need to be, you don't need to have a very high score and low score. Don't make it like that. Consistency is better. So if you're getting 70, 70, 75, 75, 75, 65, 75, 65, good. Because obviously we will not make the test as easy as you think, right? So if you're getting in general standard marks 85, 90 in any test, what you are doing somewhere, right? If you're getting 75 here, 10 marks less than them, you are doing much better. Because our design of the test will have a ratio 40% information, 40% analysis, 20% जो है that will be super rational questions. वो 20% एक्चुअल कंपटीशन होंगे कि भाई कौन से बच्चे उन पे कितना अटेम्प्ट करते हैं और कितना कर पाते हैं. So if you are attempting all the questions, good. That is the best strategy. Initially, when you appear for the test after the classes, try to attempt all the questions. वो क्या करता है? That somewhere trains your this mind to look for possible questions throughout the paper. Otherwise, what happens? You start looking for polity, you start looking for economics, right? And automatically you shut down your brain to other possibilities. It is illogical to think of कि no, मैंने तो पॉलिटी, इकोनॉमी, ज्योग्राफी किया, मैं वही करूंगा पहले जाके. अच्छी बात है, do it. But you might find some 10 questions, right? A lot of 10 questions which might be so easy for you. Attempt that first. Release that dopamine, fine, and then go for the cortisol. तो एक बार वो भी अटेम्प्ट कर लो. कोई नहीं कि भाई इकोनॉमिक्स अभी पढ़ के अभी अच्छा अभी जस्ट रटा है, एग्जाम हॉल से पहले, और पहले वही आ जाए. यस, इफ यू गेट द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन, गुड, डू इट. But let's say you don't get that exactly the question, look for the possibilities. Then you also need to manage your time, right? That how am I going to reduce the time of reading comprehensions, right? What kind of maths question, what are the kind of aptitude questions I need to attack, what I need to leave, right? Your decision making should be very strong. That is what prelims wants you to do, make decisions. In a short span of time, this is a very high stress situation. सो ऑटोमेटिकली आपका जो पूरी की पूरी जो आपकी बिहेवियर है, साइकोलॉजी है, राइट, दैट नीड्स टू चेंज ओवर अ पीरियड. दैट इज व्हाई वी से डेडिकेट सम टाइम फॉर दिस नाउ. Dedication means only the classroom. Go back, you can study half an hour optional if you want, and you should. There's nothing wrong with that. 1 hour optional every day. Read till January, February. It doesn't matter. But what is important is whether you are doing the other part properly or not. So if you are devoting 75-80% of your time for this, good, that is enough. Otherwise, your brain will start slowing down. It will become monotonous. So time management बहुत important है. Questions का choice important है. Questions attempt करने का method important है. तो सबसे पहले 100 questions करना बहुत जरूरी है. You should be able to handle those 100 questions in 2 hours. First, do that. Over the time, then you will start understanding that, okay, fine, these 25 questions, clear cut, no. These 75 questions, I will get 60 marks out of that. Or 60, correct out of that. So slowly and slowly, you will develop that. Once you reach a state that, okay, I attempt 80 or 75 and I get 65, correct, you are done. उतना ही तो चाहिए आपको, कैसा भी एग्जाम हो उतना ही चाहिए. बट यू सी देयर इज अ डिफरेंस व्हेन यू अटेम्प्ट इन द रियल एग्जाम and when you attempt in the home, right, or classroom, anywhere, even if you create the condition, see, it will give you 30% of satisfaction. If you're going to a school, right, submitting whatever your this ID card, right, getting this instruction card, whatever, still you know this is not the real exam. You feel good, you feel threatened by that competition. It gives you that sense, right? So somewhere it exposes you, this is good. But in reality, your brain is so smart, it knows कि ये नहीं है. Fine? अब ये simple example है. So let us say, street के कोने में there is a shop, है ना, you are sitting there smoking and you saw the बगल वाला uncle and you become uncle. But write down somewhere you know कि he is not my father. अंकल है, फाइन, बता भी सकते, नहीं भी बता सकते, बता दे तो कोई बात नहीं, देन आई विल डील विथ इट. फाइन, 2-4 दोस्तों को एज एन एविडेंस ले जाऊंगा, झूठ बोल रहे. लेट्स सी व्हाई द थ्रेट इज रियल बट यू नो इट इज नॉट. योर ब्रेन इज वेरी स्मार्ट, राइट, एंड इट स्टार्ट फाइंडिंग द पॉसिबिलिटीज, कैसे इसको मुझे कैसे इससे बचना है. इफ योर फादर सीज यू, देन देयर इज नो पॉसिबिलिटी. एक्सक्यूज तो नहीं बन सकता. फिर आप क्या करोगे? नाउ योर ब्रेन विल ट्रेन यू कि भाई पिटने के लिए तैयार हो जाओ कम से कम. Do you understand my logic? The example is for a mock, a real mock, a mock-like situation, a simulation, and the original exam. There's a zameen asman difference. However you try, how much you try, right? You are having such an extraordinary, intelligence with you. That is your body. It is not that stupid. Right? But yes, through practice, you can say if you are sitting alone also, right? It is your alertness, it is your consciousness, it is your sensitivity that can make that individual attempt also at home equally simulating as the exam. बना सकता है बिल्कुल. वो डिपेंड करता है आपकी फोकस कितनी ज्यादा है. So the only ability for prelims required is focusing under the high stress situation. So we'll start with this model. You study, right? You have studied so many things before also. So obviously I may not uh, be judging you in terms of knowledge or information. Our purpose simply is that all those students, right, who are there, who are here, wherever, fine, will be listening to us over a period of time, right? Our purpose is that your entire effort for mains or for optional or for anything else matters only when you are through this stage. Many good students we have seen over a period of time, they have not been able to just write the exam because of prelims. Prelims, me as individually, I never focus much on prelims as a model. Why? Because generally the general perception is that prelims is more fact based. But last 5, 6 years, it has given us a lot of opportunity, right, to bring our mode of understanding of prelims. So from fact based, fact centric, it is more analysis centric और it is more floating information centric. तो यहाँ पे जो approach है वो थोड़ा difference हो जाता है. It's not just about covering so many tests, so many questions, so many areas, multiple revisions, right? What are you doing first? In the first instance, how qualitatively your approach is, now that will make the entire difference. 15,000, 16,000, whatever be the numbers, it is quite possible to crack that exam. Considering that wherever we are sitting in Delhi, right, probably that place is representative of the India. So we get variety of students there, right? And we can have, or we can take this as a sample population to understand and assess to what extent the level of competition exists. And this can be now extrapolated, right, in the form of Weber's analysis to understand that, okay, what would be the possibility of competition, right? So we can always have a range, marking range of the students to understand कि this range is bringing them into the mainstream competition, right? This range, they still need to study more, right? Or at least need to hone their skills. So information cannot be increased beyond a point. UPSC as a system also cannot ask information beyond a point. It also has the restriction of access to information. Where ultimately, it is also an institution and there is a syllabus to look into. So it cannot put any type of information, even though it has asked sometimes very illogical type questions, like what are the different flags mean in an F1 race. You see the previous question paper, you will find this question. What is the meaning of different types of flags used in the F1 racing? But it was because we are having that Gautam Buddha circuit, or in Noida, we had developed an F1, if not F1, at least F3 racing track. So see how conscious you are to the happenings around you. How you can easily interpret these happenings may result to something. Right? For general science, like I was talking about, science tech or general science. So you'll find they are so commonsensical questions that whether there is, right, nitrogen in your hair dye or not. What is the typical constituent of a perfume spray? On what principle the perfume nozzle works? What principle? तो अमोनिया है कि नहीं डाई में, हेयर डाई में, right? Ammonia is a carcinogenic compound or not? The colas use sulfur for fizz or sulfur dioxide for fizz. Is it a carcinogenic element or not? They are asking this common sense question. Right? What is the main constituents of the energy drinks like Red Bull or Sting or whatever? Main constituent क्या है? अब इसके लिए क्या साइंटिस्ट होना पड़ेगा या प्रोफेसर यशपाल की तरह? नहीं. Everyday science. You don't have to be scientist like our Prime Minister, right? You can do with very basic knowledge. Rahul Gandhi. converting potato into gold. So you don't need to be that level of it. No rocket science required. But you say, ki, bhai, okay, I understand what is an orbit. Then I understand what is a Leo, what is a Mio, what is a Hio. क्या ये लियो तो पिक्चर थी है ना, हिट हो गई है. Common sense is not so common. That is why this exam designs you for that. No doubt. आपको आगे जाके अच्छा तो लगेगा कि भाई yes, I'm qualifying, I want to become IAS. But what you have to do, that is also very important. No? You should not feel dejected once you get into the system. Right? That okay, this is what I thought, but this is the system. Oh, क्या करें? How to overcome that cortisol? How to get that dopamine every day? Okay, dopamine in the form of currency. Right? अपने बीवी, अपने भाई, सबसे ब्राइब लेना. डोपामीन चाहिए मुझे, डोपामीन चाहिए. सब ब्राइब दो सुबह उठ के मुझे थोड़ा थोड़ा. फाइन. रोल प्ले विद द नेबर्स कि आप मुझसे कुछ काम करवाने आओ, मुझे पैसा लेके देने आओ. रोज मेरा ही पैसा है, ले जाओ फिर देने आओ मुझे. तो यू शुड अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट यू आर गोइंग टू डू. डोंट जस्ट बी फैसिनेटेड बाय द आइडिया कि so many people, millions of people are trying, and that is why I should also, you try to understand. The day you recognize the nature of exam, that very day you are smart enough to orient your study. Right? So you're not stupid people. You're graduates, postgraduates, engineers, doctors, whatever. It's only that you have not been able to attempt this nature of exam ever before this. तो ये एग्जाम पहली बार टफ नहीं है. It demands little bit of your logical brain, and that is very difficult for anybody, 20-year, 21-year, 25-year-old, to think that way because we have not been trained to do it. Right? Family में, society में कोई भी हमें train नहीं कर सकता वैसा. Neither we want to be trained like that, right? So whenever your parents give you 50 rupees or 100 rupees or 200 rupees, go get this. You go and give a casual hisab and they take it, right? Did they ask you? Do they ask you? Did you argue with the sabji wala? Right? Did you try to find out alternatives? Were there other possibilities? You did not look into it. See, how will you be trained to make decisions? Prelims तो यही करता है, यही कहता है ना भाई, eliminate करो. Eliminate क्या है? Decision है. Choose करो, decision है. Right? But what to do? Abhi the YouTube and TikTok masihas of UPSC, right? They are out of now ideas. They are looking for ideas now. कि अब क्या हो सकता है कुछ ऐसा. We have talked about these trends, that trend, and guesstimation, guessing, सब तो कर लिया. अब क्या करें हम? Fine. So now they are bringing a new area of study, right? The student psychology, counseling aspect, right? With counseling, एक बहुत emerging area है अभी. How stressful UPSC is, right? Years and years of hard work. For what? You see a lot of videos who are saying, is UPSC worth it? भाई उससे पूछ जो इंटरव्यू तक गया 4 बार, या उससे पूछ जो कलेक्टर बन के अभी बैठा है, दोनों बताएंगे वर्थ इट है या नहीं. Ask them, 10 lakh people in a district, probably whose fate was changed by just one decision of the collector. In that sense, nothing is worth it. Nothing, maybe. So when you go to McD to get a burger, right? You want that special burger. You go to KFC, you want that zinger burger, right? You are standing in the line, everybody wants it. So you are maybe 20th in the line. Go to Delhi University campus, right? It seems like every student eats outside only. They never eat at home. You go there, you'll find out. You're 25th in the line, right? And the students, groups of fives and tens coming, and they are taking this many orders. It's taking almost 20 orders for 1 minute, 20 minutes for one order, and you have 20 people ahead of you, 400 minutes. Is it worth it? Worth it है भाई वो? फिर आप सोचो भाई घर जाओ जोमेटो से मंगा लेते हैं, ठीक है ना, वो भी थी मेथड है, ऑल्टरनेटिव. बट डिसीजन मेकिंग इज इंपॉर्टेंट और नॉट? तो वर्थ इट तो कुछ भी नहीं है. Why? You nurture a child like you are, right? Maybe I am also the child of someone, right? So see, they have nurtured us. Now tomorrow we say, what have you done? Why did you tell me to appear for UPSC? I could have done this, I could have done this. But अगर वो बोलते ये करो तो वो भी नहीं कर पाते हम. We could not have done that also. But now we have an excuse. It seems a smart answer. I could have been astronaut. History student is saying I could have been a NASA scientist. So his father is wondering कि भाई तू तो 11th 12th में पढ़ा ही नहीं है मैथ्स, कैसे बनता साइंटिस्ट? But after giving UPSC 4 attempts, 6 attempts, whatever, he is capable of saying it. कि भाई see, I put so much of effort. In this effort, I could have become at least the chief minister of some smaller state. किसी यूनियन टेरिटरी का एलजी तो बन ही जाता इतनी दिन में. See, so logic is that we are not trained for it. तो वो ट्रेनिंग बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. बट इट इज नॉट समथिंग लाइक यू हैव टू ट्रेन एज अ मॉड्यूल. आपको करना है, यू हैव टू वर्क दिस वे, ऑटोमेटिकली यू विल बी ट्रेन्ड योरसेल्फ. राइट, सो वील स्टार्ट right with the class. Tomorrow you'll have science and tech environment session, right? Today I was just trying to tell you a broad parameter of what we need to do for this exam. Obviously the way we are going to do it obviously is much more challenging. Analysis is more simple, doing is very difficult, right? But on your part, what matters is the consistency. The only thing you required is consistency. You can qualify the prelims in this attempt very easily, right? Once you are into this process, you qualify prelims, you have to, or you don't have to take that break which people generally take, right? Break means 3-4 days, 5 days is okay, but you don't have to take that break. Okay, wait for the exam, wait for the result to come, 1 month mein aa jayega, fine. No. So those who have to get it in one go, right, they have to enjoy also and they have to work also. Both they have to do simultaneously, understanding? And that is what will make you different from others. You know, yes, physically it is tiring, mentally it is disturbing, right? But like I said, you should only think of the possibilities it will create. Don't think of what you are going through now. Think of the possibilities it will create. Not only in terms of power, money, water, no. Right? In terms of seeing your effort, your entire years of hard work culminating into something logical. That is more important. Right? SDM bano, DM bano, whatever bano, it doesn't matter. But your entire effort, you have put years and years of hard work. Don't think your hard work is just 1 year or 2 years. No, the 21 years, 22 years you have spent in the education system, right? 2 years to 3 years which you have spent here. So technically 24, 25 years of hard work. It must culminate into something, right? And most of the youngsters should think कि भाई इससे पहले कि मुझे ये करना पड़े 9 to 5 जॉब, राइट? या मुझे एज अ मेट्रोसेक्सुअल मुझे रोटी बनानी पड़े अपने घर में, फाइन, आई हैव टू टेक केयर ऑफ द हाउस होल्ड थिंग्स. Or even for female who think that if something like this doesn't happen, then I will have to probably go back to something that I don't want to. You kindly make that as your motivation. So think of what you don't want to do and think that way, that if you don't get through this, then you will have to do what you don't like. Automatically you will be inspired. Think that way. Right? Don't ever think I will do this, I will do that. Think that way, that if you don't get through, probably you're going to end up something that you despise, that you don't like. You see, that will change your entire orientation. If people say these are all the excuses, become a good human being. What is a good human being? Who is a good human being? in this country? Tell me. कौन है भाई? Right? तो मैं वीडियो देख के बाहर निकलता हूँ, कोई दिख ही नहीं रहा मुझे गुड ह्यूमन बीइंग. मैं बन रहा हूँ odd one out. So people are using, misusing me and throwing me. मैं good human being बनता जा रहा हूँ. Right? So see, these are all the excuses. These are all the pacifiers which manipulate you. Nothing else. Be moral होना सबसे important है. किसके लिए? किसके लिए? पॉलिटिशियन के लिए, ब्यूरोक्रेट के लिए, राइट? अपने बगल वाले इसके लिए, राइट? जो बिना रिसीट दिए, बिना बिल दिए हैं सामान बेचता है, पैसे कमाता है, राइट? या उस पेट्रोल पंप वाले के लिए जो चुरा लेता है पेट्रोल थोड़ा सा मेरे से, राइट? किसके लिए? यस, बी मॉरल, बी अपराइट. बट कैन यू लीव और कैन यू लिव इन दिस वर्ल्ड विदाउट द प्रैक्टिकलिटी दैट इज रिक्वायर्ड? सो सी, these are all the excuses. Fine? लाइफ में कुछ भी हो, खुशी होनी चाहिए. कैसे होगी? प्रॉब्ली खुशी हमें बताएगी कि भाई खुशी कैसे आएगी. She will tell us खुशी कैसे चाहिए भैया, कैसे आएगी? Fine? I am happy. Landlord threw me out of the house. I could not pay the rent. I am happy. I am so happy my friend got through, but after 5 attempts, I have not called you. I am so happy. My friend is DIG today in UP. I am so happy, right? I passed that zone. I feel it is me who is DIG. Illogical. I never talk to him. Why should I? I have a different stature myself. His friends have been calling me for their children today, or for their nephews and children in the house today. Sir, आप पढ़ा दो. मेरा अपना स्ट्रक्चर है. But the fact है, ego is there, and it is true. How can you say that he has qualified? I'm so happy. I'm happy for him, right? But I'm not happy for myself. The word operates in real, right? That is called the word operates in binaries. Good है या bad है? यहाँ पे कोई gray वरे कुछ नहीं है. वो सब theory में अच्छा लगता है, right? You cannot say I'm living a comfortable life. Yeah, I'm able to survive my means in Delhi. Right? As everybody, that is, even if we say these are short-term benefits, yes, they are. But that is what they define life. I'm putting my effort, I have to qualify. As simple as that. Rest analysis we can do somewhere later. If I will be successful, I will be a good person. As simple as that. बिल्कुल हो जाऊंगा. क्यों? Because I will have that opportunity. If I'm not successful, how can I be a good person, right? I'll have to struggle for my survival. How will I be good? I'll be thinking of finding the means and ways to survive better than others, right? To use others for myself. This is what I'll do. So see, please don't listen to all this bakwas. You have to work hard. Practically, you have to outdo everyone. Yes, if there are 150, 200 of you here today, right? In this entire institution, for example, you all can qualify. 15,000 बच्चे चाहिए है ना? सब qualify कर सकते हैं. So work as a team, but keep individual success at the center. Help your friends, align your content, information. Yes, build a strong network of intellectual people. Good 10, 15, 20, not even 10, 15, 2, 3, 4 good intellectual friends are enough, right? Then 50 illogical people who keep giving suggestions without being asked for. Don't ask them, because they'll not get through. You have to see that every 100% you see, you are the only one who can qualify. Right? Every 100% you see here, not across India, वो तो और कम हो जाएगा, फिर 1,000 में एक निकलेगा. But you see 100 people here, out of that you should always feel it is me. These 99 will not qualify. I will qualify. Right? So it is not immoral, it is not unethical, it is real. It is practical world. Right? So you don't have to be moral to be practical. These are something illogical things we learn, right? Our brain gets whitewashed by these things. मुझे ऐसा सोचना है, अच्छा सोचना है, बुरा, फाइन, अच्छे सोचने वाले इस्कॉन चले गए, हो गया, देयर रोल इज ओवर, नहीं चाहिए। फाइन, उससे बेटर सोचने वाले पार्लियामेंट चले गए। तो उन बेटर सोचने वालों को वहां जाने दो भाई। सर यू आर एथिकल, हाँ प्लीज गो एंड कंटेस्ट इलेक्शन। सर आई एम नॉट, फाइन, आई एम अ नॉर्मल ह्यूमन बीइंग सर्वाइविंग, फाइटिंग माय ओन बैटल एवरी डे. That is what you are as an aspirant, as a student. You are not simply seeking degree. Don't work for that, right? डिग्री वाला होता है ऐसा जो बोलते हैं कि अरे 60% कैसे आएंगे, आ जाएंगे, ठीक है. Your ambition is 100%, 90%, and 100% of that 90%. So you have to sharpen yourself to that level, right? So if that PT is this तलवार की धार, you should know how to use it and move ahead of that. ठीक है, वो किसी भी लेवल का एग्जाम हो सकता है. We are not the one to define the exam. We are here to define the strategy. Fine. So let's follow. You know, that is only the mantra we follow. I don't care about anything else. भाई निकलना है, रैंक लाना है, लिखना है, ऐसे लिखना है कोई और ना लिखे, बहुत अच्छी बात है, राइट. बट ये लॉजिकल है कि भाई ऑल दिस प्रोसेस स्टार्ट्स, टेक्स टाइम, राइट. देयर इज नो शॉर्टकट. There are only extraordinary methods and ordinary methods, right? Extraordinary methods take more time. Okay, that's the beauty. They take time, but they make you extraordinary. Fine. So let us think about, plan it. Fine. Tomorrow it will be more technical. Right, first day I don't want to stress you. कि भाई ये क्या है, वो क्या है, वो क्या है, ठीक है, वो होगा ही. Obviously over the time we'll do it. Fine. But see, the methodology we are going to follow, that will be very different. Right? आपने कैसे पढ़ा है, क्या पढ़ा है, that I don't know, but I will find out once I start teaching you. Right? So pace can be varied as per the children's or students' understanding. So there is a timetable detailed. ऐप पे तुम लोग हो, जो भी ऐप पे, फाइन, अपने मित्रों, है ना, रिश्तेदारों, अपने टीचरों को भी बोल सकते हो कि सर थोड़ा बहुत पढ़ लीजिए. ठीक है. So kindly tell people also whom you value, right? Whom you think are good companies. You can work with them, form a collaborative team. Well, obviously, ठीक है, हमारा पर्पस पे हर चीज के दोनों एस्पेक्ट हैं. अभी मैंने बोला रियल वर्ल्ड, बट हमारे लिए दिस बैच और दिस आवर फर्स्ट ईयर ऑफ इंसेप्शन एज अ सिस्टम, it is more like an obsession for us. So for our students, for even previous students, whatever, there are many people who have called, no doubt. Money is not the consideration, but yes, no program can run without commerce. Right? But commerce can be for profit. Commerce can be just for managing system. Right? So हम profit के sense पे कोई program नहीं कर रहे हैं. It's not a profit-seeking model. Nothing is there. Fine. For you, money is not a barrier. Only thing is you should be able to give those 4 hours to me every day. जब तक ये डिजाइन है, अगर आप, if you want, and I'll guarantee you, you'll see the difference. Just 2 months in this process, you'll see the difference where you are studying general studies, not studying. And you'll be there, you'll see the difference. You go and write the test there also. जहाँ आपने पढ़ा है पहले या नहीं पढ़ा है, जो भी किया, right? You'll see the difference in the way you understand any topic. That is why it requires time, और time देना ही पड़ेगा. New students, right? Nothing less than 4.5 months, 5 months needed, with obviously a basic understanding. So time is not a factor, right? The factor is how willingly you are doing something which is desired. So 4 to 5 months is a comfortable time. Even though 4 to 5 months is not defined as a time, I'm saying 4 to 5 months is just taken as an arrangement where an average student, above average student, can do his work. Those who don't know anything about this syllabus, obviously they'll take time. Fine. But we'll try to understand, we'll try to teach you with zero to hero model. जिसने ट्रेडिंग किया उसको पता होगा क्या होता है zero to hero model. Fine. So that is called the model zero to hero. You'll understand basics, you'll understand concepts, everything, and then we move.